American entertainment. At the start, Taylor Swift writes a song about me. Hello again, dear adventurers of the multiverse. Thanks for joining us once more on this epic journey. Remember, this story is pure science fiction from our wild imagination. So don't go trying to summon dragons in your backyard. The rights of this amazing novel belong entirely to its original author. We are only the narrators. Do you want more adventures? Show some love to our YouTube channel with a subscription and a like. And if you want exclusive content, our Patreon is waiting for you with open arms. Chapter 101: The Kiss of Victory. The next morning, Ryan was awakened by rustling noises. When Nagario saw Ryan open his eyes, she chuckled softly. "Good morning, boss. Hungry so early?" Ryan teased. "I'm not Taylor, I don't have such a small appetite." Her smile widened, becoming sweet. "I bought tickets for tomorrow, we're staying an extra day in Atlanta." Daddario, covered in sweat, panted. "You're such a glutton." Just then, Daddario's phone rang, and she answered quickly. "Taylor, I just woke up, what's up?" Ryan's probably still asleep. He talked to Scout until midnight yesterday, they argued for a long time. Yes, he's a tough nut to crack, they'll probably have to continue talking today. The lie flowed effortlessly from her lips. She not only fabricated it with a composed expression, but also moved with the agility of a deep-sea ribbonfish. "Yes, I'll remind her. Thanks for your help. How is it going on your end?" "It's great, I envy you too. I don't even dream of such things." Daddario suddenly paused. "You're such a bitch," Ryan couldn't help but say after she hung up. Daddario swallowed, recalling everything that had just happened, still somewhat frightened. "We're currently in Nashville's famous music district, right where Big Machine Records is located. We can see that the signboard has been completely changed, and the new company is named Ryan and Taylor." The female reporter was reporting from in front of the record company. "They're out, it's Ryan and Taylor, quick, turn on the cameras." A group of reporters swarmed forward, like a 100-meter sprint, and within seconds, microphones were piled up in front of Ryan and Taylor. Ryan and Taylor were holding hands, so much so that some reporters asked when they would announce their wedding date. "Ryan took my advice. Considering we're still young and for the sake of our careers, we're not considering marriage for now." Taylor's face flushed, yet she couldn't hide her smile, her face full of sweetness. Inspired by this incident recently, QQ had been writing songs for Ryan, and had already written 3 or 4. "That's right, and the new record company has already changed its name, and we will continue to cooperate with Universal Music Group. Scott Pacheco will also continue to work at the new company." Finally, Taylor's new album's second single music video will premiere on YouTube this weekend at 7 p.m. Ryan smoothly picked up the conversation, mainly mentioning Taylor's new song. His and Taylor's appearance was purely a spur-of-the-moment decision. This new song is the first shot after the acquisition, and Ryan must promote it with all his might. Success is not an option. Is the new song related to Ryan? Tay, can you reveal some information about the new album? Taylor, what do you want to say to Ryan now? Do you think this acquisition will affect your future career? The reporter's questions came like a machine gun. Let me answer the first question first. The new song has nothing to do with Ryan, but I've already written several songs for him, and those songs will be released later. The new album is expected to be released in October. I have a lot to say to Ryan, and I've already said some of it. As for the specifics, please don't ask. Taylor's cheeks flushed slightly, feeling a little embarrassed. As for the impact, of course there's an impact, but it's a good one. Ryan will fully support my career. I also want to take this opportunity to say to Ryan. She turned to look at Ryan. "Meeting you is the happiest thing that has happened to me in my 19 years, she said, blushing. This could be considered a public confession to Ryan. The reporter's present couldn't help but feel moved. Nowadays, most celebrities are willing to say shocking things to gain attention, and they'll do anything to stand out. It seems that since when has sensational news become the mainstream? Love triangles, breakups and makeups, cheating, the list goes on and on. Similarly, it's unclear when exactly this kind of simple, romantic script, without twists, turns, tug-of-war, or mutual blame and arguments, has gradually been forgotten. But now, Ryan and Taylor have rekindled everyone's longing for the pure and beautiful aspects of love. Kiss. Kiss, the crowd cheered. Ryan didn't hesitate, pulling Taylor into his arms. Taylor leaned forward, her upper body arching, and Ryan, supporting her waist with one hand, decisively kissed her. Taylor closed her eyes, instinctively lifting her right leg slightly. Their posture was strikingly similar to the famous victory kiss photo from decades ago. Cameras flashed wildly, freezing this brief moment forever. This seemed like the perfect ending. Just as the reporters were preparing to wrap up and immediately start producing their news report, Ryan looked up and called out to them. "I have something even more important to announce." He deliberately waited a few seconds, allowing the reporters to place their microphones in front of him again. With Taylor still in his arms, Ryan faced the camera and announced something significant. "I've had friendly negotiations with the relevant personnel at Schoolboy Records and we've reached an agreement. I've officially terminated my contract with my original record company. Starting this week, I will begin working on establishing my own record company. I already have a preliminary plan, and I will continue to announce it to the public as needed." After the interview, Ryan and Taylor returned hand in hand to Big Machine's office. Compared to the tranquility outside, the office was somewhat chaotic, with staff moving back and forth and papers scattered on the floor. Not far away, Dario, Ryan's confidant, was working with Scott to complete the handover. Taylor's father had sent someone to tidy up his own office. He would be working there 2 days a week from now on. Terry also arrived, bringing with her a former accountant from the film production company who was taking over the financial records. This accountant was very close to Terry, and Ryan had officially hired her after Terry's introduction. Even though Ryan hadn't changed anyone's positions, the necessary handover work still took a whole day, which was relatively quick, considering Big Machine's business was relatively simple. After a meeting with all Big Machine Records employees, Ryan spoke privately with the two Scotts. It was already 10:30 p.m. Therese, Taylor, and Dario were the last to enter Ryan's office, which was next to Scott's. On the simple desk, piled high with documents, Ryan was reviewing the company's financial statements. The last album sold over 1.4 million copies. At a gross profit of $6 per copy, that's nearly $10 million, but we only received a little over $3 million, and even with unpaid royalties, it's less than $4 million in total. Taylor frowned slightly. The difference likely went into Scott's pocket, and was distributed as costs under various pretexts. For example, the losses on goods, losses incurred from printing and storing records, in the report amounted to nearly $100,000, and even the music video shooting costs were more than double the budget Therese received. And the marketing costs were extremely high. Right now, the company only has less than $200,000 left in its accounts. Most of the surplus has been spent on marketing and promotion. Not to mention the remaining royalties that should be paid to you. We probably won't even be able to pay the employees' salaries in a few months. Ryan felt a headache coming on. Scott had left a mess this time. However, there were still a lot of revenue items on the report, such as the revenue from Taylor Swift's Love Story single, which the online platform hadn't paid the record company. With these added, the financial statements looked much better. The rest was just a matter of reconciling the accounts with Scott. Ryan had spent real money, and he wasn't going to let it go so easily. "Ryan, the new production company's office location has been selected. We need to pay the rent and add some equipment." Terry took out a list. Ryan took it and his pupils contracted. Just adding equipment alone would cost several $100,000. This was just the beginning, not including other expenses, such as staff salaries and the extra costs of poaching people. "Why is it so expensive?" Ryan said in a low voice. "This is still my reduced list. Some equipment can be borrowed. You've made so much money from investments, this amount isn't much, is it?" Terry seemed indifferent. Ryan had made a lot of money, but he had also spent a lot. Acquiring large equipment, terminating contracts, purchasing the master rights to his previous 4 singles, plus taxes, left him with little money. Moreover, 2 other companies were in the works, which would be costly in the future. Ryan's days as a tycoon were quickly followed by financial strain. "Ryan, when are you going to check out a venue for your new record label in Florida?" "Deborah has already made the appointments," Dario asked again. Starting a new record label, staff, venue, equipment, marketing, it was another series of expenses. "I'll talk about it when I get back from England," Ryan replied. Chapter 102 is read as a nightclub, written as a record store. Victoria Park, London. The All Points East Music Festival, organized by AEG, was being held in the park. Ryan was unaware that across the Atlantic, there was a sister festival, All Points West. To be precise, the All Points Festival originated in London, The New York version lasted only 2 days, while this one lasted a full 10 days, with a significantly larger audience and scale. Today was the last day of this year's All Points East Festival. Next up is this year's mystery guest for All Points East. Let's shout out his name. The host pointed the microphone at the audience. Ryan and Leona Lewis. Tens of thousands of audience members shouted in unison. According to previous media reports, Ryan had arrived in the UK a few days prior and had been spending the last few days with Leona, participating in various events. Ryan's appearance with Leona at this moment caused an even louder cheer from the crowd. This was Ryan and Leona's first large-scale joint performance. Today, Leona wore a black dress and her hair was down, while Ryan stood behind the DJ booth not far from her, beginning to play Unstoppable. Leona performed live today, effortlessly employing techniques such as powerful vocals, coloratura, and trills, combined with her unique timbre, immediately eliciting a sing-along from the entire audience. She and Ryan frequently made eye contact throughout, their chemistry evident. Ryan seamlessly transitioned to another song, and Leona began singing Wake Me Up. Even though it was her first time performing it, she left a deep impression. Vocal technique wasn't Ryan's forte, a fact he had to admit. During Harlem Rock and the final tremor, Leona stood still, waving her arms to the rhythm, perfectly in sync. The nearly half-hour performance by Ryan and Leona brought this year's music festival to a perfect close. "This is my first time trying this style, it's quite novel," Leona said, expressing her surprise backstage with Ryan. She had been very shy when she first met Ryan, but as they became more familiar, she became more talkative. "R&B is outdated, electronic music is all the rage now," Ryan said. Ryan actually needed a black female singer to join his record label. Black female singers have a stable market in the American pop music scene, that's obvious. Leona Lewis was undoubtedly the best choice, but for Ryan, she was simply too good for him. She was even more popular than Taylor Swift this year, and getting Simon to release her would likely cost more than acquiring big machines. Moreover, Simon wasn't short of money and would be even more difficult to deal with than Scott. Furthermore, she was on Sony's side, which involved competition between Universal Music and Sony Music, making things very complicated. Leona smiled. She actually held a different view. Just then, an AEG representative came over to talk to the two. Ryan had already joined the collaboration between AEG and Spinny Records, and this was a small favor, temporarily placing himself and Leona Lewis to perform. Ryan needed money, and he naturally wouldn't let such an opportunity to make money slip by. After exchanging pleasantries with the executive in charge of European affairs, the two were able to leave. "Do you need me to give you a ride home?" "It's on my way," Ryan said. "Oh, okay, then I won't have Luo come over," Leona nodded. Ryan asked Dario to drive. In the car, Ryan and Leona chatted about their experiences before entering the music industry. She mentioned that her mother had Welsh, Irish, and Italian ancestry, and her father was from Guyana, making her a mixed-race black woman. "I didn't go to college. I dropped out to pursue my music career. Later, I worked as a Pizza Hut server and a receptionist at a law firm. I was once very close to my dream, recording an album during breaks from theater performances, but that album wasn't released. From that time on, I had essentially given up on my music dream until 2006, when Luo encouraged me to participate in the X Factor. At first, I was very insecure, but Simon encouraged me, and I won the championship. You already know what happened next. It seems Luo's advice was very important to you. This is my boyfriend, but he changed. When I met him, he was an electrician. After I became famous, he was unemployed, so I recommended him to join Sony and he became a talent scout. Now it seems like a terrible decision. You know, some girls will do anything to get a contract. It's ridiculous," Leona said angrily. Then she recounted catching Luo cheating, and not just once. "Looks like this Luo has a lot to learn from Ryan," Dario joked, driving the car. Ryan was definitely a master of infidelity. Leona clearly didn't understand what he meant, but instead asked about Ryan and Taylor. She was casting for her music video, but the budget was cut, so I was eliminated. Then, in the music section, I happened to see her car in an accident, so I helped her get it out," Ryan recounted, and not only Leona, but even Dario, was listening intently. "So romantic. If you ask me, this is definitely fate. You two are a match made in heaven." "To be honest, I was watching your news until 3 a.m., Leona said, revealing herself to be a fan of the couple. Bullshit. Daddario thought to himself. Compared to you two, my romantic history's a joke, she said self-deprecatingly. Maybe you should find a different man, Ryan shrugged. Leona was quite loyal and sentimental, anyone else would have already made their move. Leona fell into thought. It's just ahead, around the corner, this place is really awful, Daddario remarked, looking around. He'd assumed Leona lived in some mansion, but it turned out to be a small, rather rundown apartment. See you again sometime, Leona said to Ryan without a word, then hurriedly got out of the car. After saying goodbye to Leona, Ryan had Daddario drive to a nightclub called Ministry of Sound, located in London's North Carolina district. This nightclub originated as an abandoned bus garage and opened in 1991. Inspired by the famous New York nightclub Paradise Garage, the founders had considered a bunch of silly names before suddenly having an idea while passing by the Ministry of Defense. The top 100 DJs of recent years have all been revealed at this legendary nightclub. Ryan, I finally waited for you, a bald, middle-aged man in a leather jacket immediately embraced Ryan upon seeing him. It was only afternoon, and Ryan was the first nominated DJ to arrive. The man who greeted Ryan introduced himself as Justin Berkman, the founder of Soundgarden. 20 years ago, after visiting Paradise Garage, he conceived the idea of starting a similar nightclub in London. He spent a year just choosing a location, mobilizing his friends and family to pool their resources, which led to the creation of this legendary nightclub. I have a feeling you'll get into the top 3 this year, at least the top 5. You're someone the electronic music world has been waiting for decades, Justin Berkman said, comparing Ryan to a star descended from the heavens. Let me show you around. These are all the accolades the nightclub has received so far. 4 consecutive years at the International Dance Music Awards, IDMA, 4 World's Best Sound System, we beat out many competitors on Ibiza. He pointed to the certificates of honor on the wall with great familiarity. The International Dance Music Awards and the Ultra Music Festival, which Ryan had previously attended, were held at the same time and location, both part of the Winter Music Conference. What about nightclubs in America? Ryan asked. He was planning to open his own nightclub in Florida, and today was a rare opportunity for research, so he naturally wanted to ask as many questions as possible. America, well, maybe 20 or 30 years ago, nightclub culture was very prosperous there, but in recent years, it has fallen behind. That's the American's own choice. Berkman led Ryan into the main hall. It was still afternoon, and the main hall was empty except for a few staff members. This place can accommodate about 600 people. We don't have booths, only a few private rooms, the largest of which is already booked until next March, Berkman said casually, his leather shoes echoing clearly on the wooden floor. This is smaller than I imagined, Ryan said sincerely. The luxurious nightclub in Reed, LA, was almost twice the size of this one. The decor here didn't impress Ryan at all. Due to urban planning constraints, we can't expand, but we already have 3 branches in London, and we'll open 2 more next year. But if you ask me, no nightclub in the world can compare to this one. Want to know why? Berkman snapped his fingers at a staff member not far away. Play music. Chapter 103 is read as a nightclub, but written as a record store too. A minute later, Ryan's face was filled with disbelief. He paced around as if searching for something, but found nothing. Berkman smiled and snapped his fingers, signaling the staff to turn off the music. You want to know where the speakers are, right? Berkman asked. Ryan nodded. Berkman stomped his foot, the soles of his leather shoes making a crisp sound on the hard floor. Sound is everywhere, from the moment you stepped in here, every inch of the floor below, the ceiling above your head. Do you know why the ceiling here looks so low? Guess how many sound units we've crammed in. Our philosophy is simple and pure: 100% sound quality first, lighting second, design or decor third, pretty girls fourth. But for most nightclub owners in the world, that ranking is exactly the opposite. He led Ryan to the edge of the main hall and had him tap on the black wall. Ryan tried, and the echo was much quieter than expected. Besides every soundproofing technique you can think of, we also added magnesia to the wall paint. This stuff is incredibly effective at absorbing noise. We tested it, and even in environments with a maximum noise level of 156 decibels, you still couldn't hear a single sound outside. How much would this sound system cost? Ryan asked. Priceless, Berkman shook his head. We hired dozens of sound engineers and spent months customizing it to the specific environment. This was essentially a no-brainer. Berkman clearly wouldn't reveal such details. Next, Berkman mentioned this year's performance schedule and hinted that he hoped Ryan could perform at the Sound Pavilion during the Christmas holidays. This would be a great honor for a DJ, but Ryan didn't immediately agree. If you were to open a brand new nightclub, he naturally wouldn't be performing at the Sound Pavilion. Then Berkman hurried back to the entrance, as another big-name DJ had already arrived. "Get the camera," Ryan whispered to Daddario. Daddario complied and began taking photos in the main hall. "Hey, Ryan. You're here early." He had long hair, spoke with a slight accent, and was French. He practically jogged over, giving Ryan a big hug. Let me smell you." He took a deep breath. "We could have signed with the same record label," Ryan said with a smile. The man in front of him was David Guetta. True electronic music fans had never liked him. In their eyes, David Guetta wasn't real enough, his songs were poorly made, overly commercial, and he belonged to the lower middle tier of the electronic music hierarchy, hence the nickname David Underpants. "No, that would be terrible. Atlantic Records is putting me on a higher priority now because you're famous. They've even secured collaborations with several big-name artists for me," David Guetta laughed. Objectively speaking, David Guetta was indeed the first big-name DJ to become well-known in America, and he had many hit songs. Being famous doesn't necessarily mean being criticized, but being constantly criticized usually means having some level of fame. Two tigers cannot share one mountain. Ryan's being outmaneuvered ironically benefited David Guetta. With fewer direct conflicts of interest with Ryan, coupled with Ryan's emerging talent, David naturally felt a certain affinity for him. He continued, "You want to start your own record company? Why not imitate the Soundgarden model?" David pointed to the Soundgarden logo hanging from the ceiling. Seeing Ryan's puzzled expression, he explained. "Soundgarden isn't just a nightclub, it's also a record company. The record company offices are upstairs. Or rather, it's a nightclub with signed artists that regularly releases compilations. Firstly, this is Soundgarden's moat, all the music is performed exclusively at Soundgarden. Secondly, this also helps build a brand indirectly." David Guetta's explanation was a revelation to Ryan. At first glance, Soundgarden wasn't large, and the decor wasn't luxurious, but it held an unparalleled position among electronic music enthusiasts. Its unique operating strategy, coupled with its music-first positioning, were the two most important reasons. David Guetta turned around and exclaimed, "Look who's here." Ryan followed suit and saw that Uncle Iron and Armin, the two Dutchmen, had also arrived. Armin was accompanied by his girlfriend, and the two were considered a perfect couple in the DJ world. They had met when they were both unknown, and Armin's girlfriend had always been by his side wherever he performed. Uncle Iron had met Ryan before, but Armin had. After exchanging greetings, the well-known DJs began to discuss electronic music. They all mentioned the sound effects plugin that Ryan and deadmau5 had jointly developed, and all three had tried using the Sawtooth Wave and Super Sawtooth sound effects in their music. Ryan mostly just smiled. He didn't even understand some of the more obscure technical terms, and he had to admit that he was a novice. However, to the other three, Ryan's expression seemed even more unfathomable, as if he had transcended the technical realm and entered the artistic realm that only Dumpunk had achieved. "By the way, our Dumpunk coming today?" Ryan couldn't help but ask. David Guetta immediately shook his head. "They don't need to attend. Even if someone tops the list of the 100 DJs for 10 consecutive years, it won't shake the status of Dumpunk." That's a bit of an exaggeration, but Dumpunk is indeed a godlike duo in the hearts of many DJs. These two have never revealed their true faces, always appearing in public wearing custom-made robot helmets and gloves, disguising themselves as robots. And aside from a very few live performances, they almost never show their faces. Very mysterious. This style of not revealing their true faces has inspired many DJs to imitate them, such as Dead Rat, whom Ryan encountered, and later, Old Cotton. As for the ranking of the 100 DJs, the three big-name DJs didn't mention it at all. The Spinny A&R manager was right, electronic music is a growing market, and there's no need to fight tooth and nail over a ranking, becoming estranged forever. At least everyone maintains a public-friendly relationship. Now, the final name will be revealed. This year's number one DJ in the 100 DJs list is, the host paused. Armin, people in the main hall shouted. That evening, the list of the top 100 DJs was revealed. Ryan ranked fourth, David Guetta fifth, and the top three were Armin, Iron Uncle, and Paul van Dyk. The third-ranked DJ is considered a veteran of electronic music. He was the first to DJ at a major concert, performing as a guest on U2's European tour. Not the one who later went to Liverpool to play football, became the world's best defender, and almost won the Ballon d'Or. "Congratulations," Ryan said as someone approached. The man had a thick beard, and Ryan recognized him. He had performed at the Ultra Music Festival earlier this year. Kevin. Ryan couldn't recall his last name. Kevin Harris, he nodded. He wasn't of Indian descent, nor was he a quantum state black, and he wasn't good at rambling on about meaningless details. Whether he was rich or not was another matter, but he was certainly tall and handsome. No wonder he was called tall, rich, and handsome. There are no wrong nicknames, only wrong names. Most importantly, he was one of Taylor's 13 Musketeers, as of the end of 2024. His song for Rihanna was later revealed to have been written by Taylor herself, using a pseudonym. As for the 13 Musketeers, Ryan had already met one before, Joe the Jonathan brothers, but the two only had one photo together, taken at the 2008 VMAs, leading some to believe they never actually dated. Ryan nodded, while Kevin Harris began asking Ryan about electronic music production. "After hearing your progressive house, I had a new perspective. I felt I had been going astray before. I had been trying to blend electronic and pop music," Kevin Harris remarked. This musician, who had created numerous hit songs, including the 2010-2020s classic We Found Love, was now inspired by Ryan's work. He felt Ryan shared his views and that Ryan had already produced even better material. This gave him a sense of kinship with Ryan. "I'm currently signed with Columbia Records on Sony, but it expires next year, and Columbia isn't planning to renew. Spinny Records contacted me with pretty good terms. I could set up my own record label. But I'd prefer to switch to your new label," Kevin Harris said. Although he didn't make this year's top 100 DJs, his music is more popular on the mainstream charts. He even got Kylie Minogue's attention and collaborated with her on 2 songs, Diodario whispered in Ryan's ear. Kylie Minogue was a world-class superstar at her peak. Anyone who could collaborate with her must have some talent. "But you should be prepared, I might not be able to offer the same terms as Spinny," Ryan cautioned. "As long as the difference isn't too big," Kevin Harris shrugged. Chapter 104 Long Contract. In the dimly lit main hall, filled with booming electronic music, 22-year-old Ellie Goulding nodded along to the rhythm. A man's arm was draped over her shoulder, her current boyfriend, Frank Music, a DJ who released a single with Island Records last year. As the DJ World's annual highlight, Frank Music naturally wouldn't miss it, and this time he brought his girlfriend along. "See those two over there? Kevin Harris, and Ryan Rivers next to him," Frank Music said, pointing diagonally ahead. Ellie looked over, only able to vaguely make out their backs and the cheering crowd. "Shouldn't you go over and talk to them? Introduce them," Ellie Goulding suggested. Ellie was a young girl with musical dreams. She moved to London and captivated a following on MySpace with her unique voice. At a casual party, she heard Frank Music's music on a friend's computer. His electronic style caught her eye, so she sent him demos, hoping to collaborate. Not long after their collaboration began, she and Frank Music ended up in bed together, a common occurrence. Frank Music then introduced her to producers in London, helped her produce her first single, and actively tried to find her a record label. However, things didn't go smoothly. No record company had yet offered her a contract. Frank Music, with his arm around her neck, and the two struggled through the crowd to reach Ryan and Kevin Harris. Just as they were about to get close, they were blocked by 2 burly men, Ryan's bodyguards. "Let us through, okay? We're Ryan's friends," Frank Music said with a forced smile. The bodyguards ignored him, and it was Diodario who finally noticed them. Kevin Harris turned around. He had just listened to Ellie's music on MySpace. As one of the 13, Kevin Harris's relationship with Ellie Goulding was well known before he met Taylor. The two had collaborated on more than one classic single, a classic example of mutual success. However, that was years later. This was their first meeting. "That girl has a very unique voice. If your new record label needs to recruit new talent, she's a good choice," Kevin whispered to Ryan. Ryan nodded, signaling the bodyguards to stop blocking them. "Ray. Welcome to London, I'm..." Frank Music enthusiastically introduced himself to Ryan, but Ryan wasn't particularly interested in him, instead looking at his girlfriend. Ellie Goulding also introduced herself. "It's too noisy here, let's go somewhere quieter later," Ryan said loudly to her. Late at night, in Ryan's room, Ellie Goulding seemed somewhat reserved. "I'm auditioning a female singer, Kevin Harris introduced me. He's a DJ I just met, and I've decided to sign him. His contract is about to expire. I'm going back to the US soon, probably going straight to Florida this time." Deborah is getting impatient. "No problem, let's meet in Orlando. I have other people in front of me, okay?" Ryan could only give a kiss into the phone before hanging up. It must be Taylor Swift. Ellie immediately realized who was on the other end of the line and whispered. Beside her, Daddario, who was leaning against a table with his arms crossed, raised an eyebrow, looking like he'd swallowed a fly. "Where were we?" Ryan tossed his phone aside. "You asked me to sing," Ellie said. "Okay, start your performance." Ellie began singing Ryan's previous hit song, Unstoppable, a cappella. Ryan had a version in mind, sung by a singer known for her sharpening, and another by Leona Lewis, both of whom were quite good singers. Ellie then performed a third version, somewhat similar to Taylor Swift's demo. Her voice was very sweet, a natural sheep's voice, not something she had forced. The year she rose to fame, China was experiencing a surge in popularity with the Supergirl competition, and Chinese netizens even nicknamed her British Zhang Yike. Ellie didn't fade into obscurity a few years later. Instead, she became increasingly popular, becoming one of the top young stars in the British pop music scene. As of 2023, she was the female singer with the most #1 albums in the UK, tied with Adele. After she finished singing, Ryan had her sing other songs before letting her leave. "So, did I pass?" Ellie Goulding asked tentatively. Ryan nodded. "I've already locked you in." He even had Daddario print out a provisional agreement, directly securing Ellie. Ryan also paid a £5,000 signing bonus, which would later be considered part of the record deal's advance payment. Profits from Ellie's new album would be used to repay the advance first. Ellie then happily left with her current boyfriend. That £5,000 would probably take him 2 or 3 months to earn. "How long are you planning to sign?" Daddario asked. "At least 15 years, 7 albums, Ryan replied casually. Before, others had tried to scam him, now it was his turn to scam others. Record contracts weren't like management contracts, where the first one could only be for a maximum of 1 year. Although the agreement would also stipulate that the record company was obligated to produce 7 albums for her, album production was like filmmaking, the budget could be very high or very low, and it was easy to pad it out. Next up for Ellie Goulding was Kevin Harris. Ellie was practically a nobody, while Kevin Harris was already somewhat famous, making it much more difficult to get him to sign a long-term contract. He was clearly there specifically for Ryan, and had already worked with major record labels like Columbia Records under Sony. Even though tonight's discussion was only preliminary, it led to lengthy debate with Ryan, even though he didn't bring his manager. For a long time, he insisted on signing a 2-year, 1-album contract. Ryan eventually had to add a performance-based clause. If Kevin Harrison's album sales exceeded a certain number, the contract would be extended, and an additional album would be produced, up to a maximum of 3 albums over 6 years. That's 8 years and 4 albums. This condition was fairer to Kevin Harrison and acceptable to Ryan. Under the prepayment system, record companies rarely suffer huge losses, but physical album sales are declining year after year, and the traditional record industry is slowly shrinking. Therefore, Ryan probably didn't expect the record company to make him rich. He prioritized the nightclub integrated with a record company. David Guetta had already explained the business model to Ryan, who urgently needed relevant professionals. He personally called Spinny Records, hoping they could introduce someone with experience in operating nightclubs in London, preferably someone who had participated in the management of Ingo. 2 days later, after Ryan had returned to Florida, he received a call from a man who identified himself as Sean, the manager of the London nightclub Matter. This was another nightclub founded by the owner of the famous Fabric nightclub, located near the renowned 02 Stadium. However, the nightclub was currently closed for 3 consecutive months due to drug-related deaths. Sean indicated that the nightclub was likely to have its license revoked, and he might have to find another job. Ryan couldn't help but feel lucky and immediately invited the man to Orlando. Chapter 105: A Step to the Stomach. The location is great. We can excavate the basement and connect it into a nearly 4-story high area, with private rooms around the atrium. The only problem is that it's a bit too remote, a middle-aged man with a perfect London accent told Ryan. He had inherited the fine tradition of the British Empire, with a clean-shaven head. This was Sean, the manager of Matter nightclub. He had arrived in Orlando 3 days ago and had been scouting suitable locations for the nightclub with Ryan and D. Pineapple. That is indeed a problem. It's too far from Church Street, D. Pineapple said, dusting off his hands. Church Street is the heart of Orlando's nightlife, home to numerous nightclubs and restaurants, commonly known as Orlando's mini Cabuquicho. Moreover, the surrounding area is a Latino community, with a large number of Colombians and Cubans, and the security isn't very good, Diodario added, sounding worried. In the United States, Colombians, especially those in Florida, are almost synonymous with drug lords. In the 1980s, the vast majority of flour flowed into the United States from Florida. The TV series Miami Vice, the original version, the movie Scarface, and the game GTA, Vice City partially recreated Florida during that period. Later, the crime center gradually shifted westward, and the U.S.-Mexico border became increasingly bustling. Fast forward to GTA 6, and the loyal Rockstar Games has returned to Florida. Beautiful lady, what you're worried about won't happen. 15 years ago, this was the largest church in the entire parish. It was just destroyed by fire. The locals wouldn't dare to cause trouble in God's territory, the real estate agent said. Indeed, there are many Catholics among South Americans, even Selena Gomez, a star, wears a chastity ring. Ryan remained silent, wandering among the ruins. He looked down and gently kicked the fallen, charred statue of the Virgin Mary, barely recognizable. He'd looked at many places these past few days, other places were either too small or too expensive. If I choose this place, how much would it cost to achieve the acoustics of the sound pavilion? Ryan looked up, watching the sunlight stream in through the stained glass windows. The main hall of the music hall can only hold less than 700 people, while this main hall needs to be twice the capacity. I think the cost for this will be at least $3 million. How much? Diodario was somewhat astonished. That was too expensive. Please note, I'm referring to pounds, Sean reminded her. Would that be a bit wasteful? Deborah remembered that the nightclub where he performed only used about half of its budget. Ryan didn't respond but instead prepared to look around the surrounding area. This place was indeed rather unfavorable. The surrounding Hispanic community was quite desolate. Most of the houses were abandoned, there were few cars on the road, and even fewer pedestrians. After looking at 2 more places the next day, Ryan finally decided to choose this abandoned church on the outskirts of the city as the location for the nightclub and record company. The acoustics contractor for both Soundgarden and Fabric is a private studio in the UK called Martin Audio. As far as I know, they are a top supplier in the industry. They also did the sound systems for Zouk in Singapore and Exchange in LA, as well as several music festivals and theaters. Aside from the high price, there are no other problems. However, some slightly less effective systems can be much cheaper. Once completed, this will probably be the largest nightclub in the entire eastern United States, so you need to consider the costs carefully, Sean reminded him. The remaining profits from the previous investment were enough to cover the costs, but they would still take up about 70–80%. After some thought, Ryan decided to go all in. Then, after signing the lease agreement, complete the cleaning and basic renovation within a week. If we want to follow Soundgarden style, the interior renovation can be done quickly. During this time, the exterior renovation can be carried out simultaneously. Then, Martin Audio's engineering team will move in. The final step is the soft furnishings and soundproofing. The first phase of the project can be completed before Thanksgiving at the earliest. The record company upstairs and the high-rise boxes can be left for the second phase, starting after Thanksgiving, Sean planned. Besides the lease agreement, you'll need to build a team. I can ask around in London to see if anyone's willing to come. If not, you'll have to find someone locally. What kind of people do you need? Beverages, security, event planning, and waiters. Now let's talk about women. I know American nightclubs, this time, following the London style, we're not targeting middle-aged owners, but young people, Ryan interrupted. Do we need some women to decorate the facade? I suggest we arrange some when we first open, and see how things go later. Sean thought for a moment. I have connections in that area. Ryan thought for a moment. Sean nodded. For beverages, if you're only targeting young people, a regular bar supplier can meet all your needs, What about security? That's crucial, especially for a large venue. Ryan thought of Barrick, who would be a perfect fit, but he didn't know if he'd be willing to come. Almost done. There are still some paperwork to apply for. I'll handle that. There's one more thing that's been overlooked. Ryan thought for a moment. What? A screen, a giant screen, the kind that takes up the entire wall, Ryan tentatively said. If you're going to play big. The auditory specs are already maxed out. How can the visual specs be neglected? But current screen technology isn't quite up to par, is it? Sean wondered. I know a supplier who should be able to meet my requirements. Trying to poach me? You'll have to raise my salary. You'll also have to pay my health insurance and social security, and my men will get a 50% raise too. Barrick exhaled a puff of smoke, his face full of menace, exuding a thuggish air. His appetite was considerable. Ryan glanced at Dipple beside him, who also wore a helpless expression. Poaching and raising salaries were inevitable, and Barrick was considered an elite in the guarding profession. He and his core team could start immediately upon arrival, without even needing training. Considering everything, the salary increase was acceptable. That's too high. Ryan still frowned slightly. Is that too high? You're being too stingy, young man, Berwick complained. Or you could provide me with a house. Your place is too far from where I live now. I need a quiet place, a detached house, a large living room, and a garden. Ryan had Dario write down these requirements. Wow, you're doing well. It's only been 6 months, and you've already made it big, Berwick joked to Ryan. Seeing that the discussion was almost over. Ryan had reminded him that back then he was a policeman, while this kid was still a high school student. He couldn't believe that in the blink of an eye, this kid was his boss. By the way, how many people can our place hold? Initially estimated to be over 1,500 people, Dipple explained. Over 1,000 people would make it a giant nightclub, very rare outside of Ibiza. How much? Berwick was stunned. He then realized that his offer was far too low. If everything goes well, there will be a raise later. Ryan nodded repeatedly, silencing him. Chapter 106. I'm sticking with this, big brother. In the United States, the most popular sport is American football, and the second most popular is still college football. Among college football games, NCAA Division I attracts the most attention, and within Division I, 5 college athletic conferences stand out with their exceptional popularity. The University of Florida is located in the Southeastern Conference, one of the 5 major conferences. As a traditionally strong athletic university, backed by a populous state, the University of Florida has produced countless players for the NFL, and Paul considers himself one of them. The moment the final whistle blew, signifying the University of Florida's victory over the current Southeastern Conference leader, the University of Alabama, Paul and his teammates celebrated with hugs. He then grabbed Gatorade drinks and towels from the shelf and greeted the players coming off the field. As a Redwood, a new player, this was his task this season, sitting on the bench watching the upperclassmen play. Although his total playing time this year was less than 2 minutes, Paul was already very satisfied. It's worth noting that those who become starters in their freshman season are all true talents. Even someone like Peyton Manning, and even Tom Brady, didn't get much playing time at the University of Michigan. Moreover, thanks to his status as a playing player, he managed to date 3 upperclassmen during his first semester at college, making a huge profit. However, Florida's ranking wasn't high this year, missing out on the Big Six bowls and only able to play in lower-level bowl games, which were more like exhibition games. For the players, this year's competition was basically over, and they could start planning how to spend the Thanksgiving break. Have you heard? Rui opened a giant nightclub in Orlando. It's almost the size of the stadium. Paul overheard his teammates talking and immediately caught the key words, so he went over to strike up a conversation. That's right, and it's already under renovation. It's expected to open before Thanksgiving. Paul patted his chest twice. I'm Rui's childhood friend. Want me to get you guys a couple of tickets? The teammates who were talking glanced at Paul, then turned back to their conversation. Is a football field that big? Is it that scary? Maybe a little smaller than a football field, but it's converted from a church. Don't you really like Rui's songs? You absolutely have to see it this time. The tickets are a bit pricey though, but they were having a Christmas promotion, $100, excluding drinks. How much? $100 can get you a view of the Orange Bowl. And a pretty good seat. Paul's smile froze. This wasn't the first time he'd been treated like he wasn't there. At Henderson, He was a star player, but at the University of Florida, he was just an insignificant nobody, listening to his two teammates continue their discussion. Don't complain about the price. Meeting and interacting with A-list celebrities up close is incredibly cheap at $100. This morning, tickets for next year were already available, and on the ticketing website, tickets for the opening day were already being resold for over $1,500. Impossible, absolutely impossible. What's impossible about it? 3 days ago, tickets were only $1,000, and today they're already $1,500. Taylor Swift, Paris Hilton, and others will be attending. And have you seen the Christmas season lineup? Besides Ryan, there's also. While his teammate was still rambling on, Paul had already turned and left $1,500? I can get in just by showing my face. Idiot. He cursed inwardly. In the evening, back in his dorm, Paul immediately turned on his computer and posted a thread on the school's internal forum. Internal staff. Yo, hot girls recruited, internal access for opening night. DM me and post photos, limited spots. The post contained only one picture. Ryan was at the renovation site, and through the stained glass behind him, it was clearly the nightclub being renovated. This was a photo Paul secretly took when he visited Ryan the day before yesterday. The photo even has a handwritten watermark of Paul's account ID to prevent theft and impersonation. Bringing you idiots along? I'd rather find some pretty girls. Late that night, when Paul opened the forum's backend, he was shocked to find the private message icon had increased to 99+. Shit. Is it that popular? Paul reviewed the photos one by one, including many revealing pictures, legs, breasts, and of course, mostly faces. Come on, baby. Holy shit, Paul's lips curled into a silvery smile. He was going to have an unforgettable Christmas holiday. This one's not bad. Let's see if there's anything better. Holy crap, those legs. You're the one. Cheerleader outfit? I know you. Don't you have a boyfriend? You're a seasoned pro. Next, a week later, inside a truck. The cargo hold was now filled with a strange mix of perfumes, causing Paul to sneeze countless times along the way. The truck had no windows, only the faint light from cell phone flashlights. At least 20 women sat on either side, all dressed extravagantly in their most revealing outfits. Their expressions, however, were increasingly unpleasant, their faces contorted with displeasure. From the moment they boarded, the women had been complaining incessantly. Ladies and gentlemen, it's not that I'm short on budget, just bear with it a little longer, we'll be at our destination soon, Paul said with a forced smile. Are you reliable? Rui wants you to recruit girls? I don't believe it. Yeah, where are you taking us? I want to get off, I'm calling the police. Just as the situation was about to spiral out of control, the truck suddenly stopped. Paul heard knocking coming from the driver's seat. He pressed his ear to the driver's seat and listened intently. He immediately waved his hand. Everyone get out, there's a traffic jam, let's walk. A group of women jumped out of the truck, only to find that the entire road was completely blocked, with traffic stretching for miles. Are they all going to nightclubs? Paul was the last to get off, and to be honest, he was a little shocked by the traffic, but also somewhat excited. A group of girls stood in the cold wind, hurriedly putting on their coats, and finally had to walk to their destination. Halfway there, many of these girls, wearing sky-high heels, were already complaining bitterly, and Paul had to beg and plead before they were allowed to continue walking their slender, bare legs. At this point, he could see top-of-the-line luxury cars parked along the roadside, Lamborghinis, Ferraris 488s, Porsche 918s, Corvette C8s, Aston Martin Vantages, Nissan GT-Rs, Audi R8s, and BMW M8s. Paul had only seen pictures of these low-slung, streamlined luxury sports cars online before. Today, he was seeing them for the first time. So many luxury cars gathered together, it was like a sports car show. It was these haphazardly parked cars that caused the traffic jam. Further on, he saw a group of women standing by the roadside, holding various signs with the RT logo flashing. Ryan Taylor forever. Forever and ever, the girls chanted in unison, seemingly tireless, for an unknown amount of time, even in the dead of winter. Further on, Paul noticed a makeshift parking lot, already packed with cars, indicating a far greater turnout than planned. Several police officers were even on patrol at the entrance, maintaining order. Pretty impressive, Paul remarked, increasingly pleased with his earlier foresight. The group walked and stopped until they finally reached the nightclub entrance. The sign wasn't even finished yet, and the renovated Baroque church-like building, illuminated by neon lights, resembled a magical castle. There are too many people at the entrance. I'll take you in through the back, Paul waved them in. At the back entrance, several burly men stood guard, stopping Paul and his group. I need to make a call, Paul said, pulling out his phone and dialing a number. Yes, I'm right at the back door, Ryan. I brought you over 20 girls, absolutely handpicked, Paul chuckled. No problem, no problem. If you ever need anything in the future, I can even get you the school's female principal. The group of girls behind him looked at each other. They had heard Paul's words. He was calling out Ryan. Paul then handed his phone to the gatekeeper, and the group was able to enter smoothly. Paul, I was a little impatient just now. Don't be angry, Paul. You don't have a girlfriend yet, right? Should I introduce you to one when we get back, Paul? What hair color does Ryan like? Tell me, Paul, what's Ryan's phone number, Paul? Amidst the calls, Paul felt lightheaded. He secretly vowed, I'm sticking with Ryan. Let me explain. Because the plot is directly connected, time in the book's world moves a bit too quickly, or rather, the timeline becomes messed up. For obvious issues, I've patched them up, like the release date of Taylor Swift's new album. For less obvious issues, like the Victoria's Secret fashion show dates, I haven't patched them. The timeline will return to normal by the 2009 Grammys. Also, does anyone have any good recommendations for books on driving sexual innuendo? I checked out some recommendations from fellow readers yesterday, preferably from Kidyan.com. Thanks. P.S. I've changed Christmas to Thanksgiving in the main text, resolving the timeline issue. Chapter 107 Organized and Disciplined. Backstage, when a group of hot girls around Paul saw Ryan, the situation immediately spiraled out of control. OMG, Ryan. The girls immediately surrounded Ryan. Ryan was busy handling other matters, and Paul, not wanting him to be disturbed, went over and tried to pull them away. Ladies, Ryan has important things to do. You need to give him some space. Tonight has only just begun, Paul advised. In the rush, one of the girls struck, elbowing Paul in the eye. Paul saw stars and staggered back. Finally, Ryan stepped in to restore order. He raised his hands. Okay, ladies, welcome, but things are chaotic right now. Shut your mouths. The situation was urgent, and Ryan's tone suddenly became serious as he shouted. This finally calmed the situation down. Ryan glanced around at the group of scantily clad, sexy, and alluring women, and suddenly felt a headache coming on. He was currently swamped with work and didn't have time to entertain them. He was also worried about staffing. The bar was severely understaffed. Thinking of this, Ryan had a sudden inspiration. Anyway, welcome. Have any of you bought my songs? Raise your hands if you have. Everyone raised their hands in unison. Great, I need your help now. Are you willing? Yes, the women shouted in unison, their voices almost making Ryan's bones melt. The specific work is simple. You need to record the guests' needs, then relay the requests to the bartender. You can also prepare some simple drinks yourself, then give them the drinks. Remember to collect payment, collect empty glasses, wipe tables, basically, do whatever you can. I know you might not usually do much work, but forgive me, my dears, I really have no choice right now. After tonight, I'll give you a reward, a special reward just for you. Can you do that? Ryan asked the group. Yes, the hot girls responded in unison, sweetly. If it were an unrelated person, they obviously wouldn't be too enthusiastic about this kind of volunteer work. Besides, Ryan wouldn't share a penny of the money he earned with them, but for the fans, everything was different. It was an honor for them that Ryan could use them. It was an honor for them to be able to help Ryan at a crucial moment. Ryan glanced at Daddario. Now take them over, can they do the work? Daddario expressed doubt. These hot girls all had incredibly long manicures. However, with nothing else to lose and no one else available, they decided to take these hot girls in bodycon skirts, high heels, and various jewelry out. Ryan, isn't this a bit much? Paul rubbed his eyes and leaned closer. This was a brand new version of the fan economy. What's the situation outside? Ryan asked. He had just heard that there was already a traffic jam outside, and a large number of people were stuck on the road. When he heard that Paul and the others had walked for miles, Ryan realized that the nightclub's popularity was beyond imagination. Those people just parked their cars on the side of the road, which only made the road more congested. The cars were all parked on the north side, and there were also a bunch of your and Taylor's fans standing there shouting slogans, Paul complained. Then let's use them too. Ryan immediately picked up the walkie-talkie. Barrick, didn't you say you didn't have enough manpower? Then let those female fans standing on the side of the road join in to maintain order. Also, have someone guide the cars to the parking lot on the south side of the road, and then send people to block parking on the north side to clear the road. I'll teach you how to direct those female fans, Ryan instructed. Are you kidding me? Barrick thought to himself as he stood at the door with his men. Looking across the street at the group of skinny girls, he became even more convinced that Ryan's idea was unreliable. Ryan had no idea how difficult this group was to deal with. Guarding was no easy task. It involved ticket checks, uniform checks, maintaining order, getting everyone in line, and the larger the group, the harder it was to control. Barrick had never seen anything like this before. Seeing his men arguing with someone again, the umpteenth time tonight, Barrick reluctantly walked over to the group of enthusiastic fans. As soon as he approached, the female fans shouted even louder. Ryan has something to say to you. Barrick had no choice but to shout loudly as Ryan had instructed. Unexpectedly, this shout had a miraculous effect. The group of shouting girls immediately turned to look at Barrick. Barrick pointed behind him. You've all seen the situation. Ryan's in a real bind, severely understaffed. He wants to ask you a favor. We're not leaving. We're going to cheer for Ryan. Ryan. Go Ryan, someone shouted, and the scene began to spiral out of control again. Wait, he didn't say you had to leave. Ryan means you have to participate too. He'll pay you. Consider it part-time work, Barrick quickly explained. As a veteran police officer, he'd faced many ruthless criminals, but he felt a little nervous around this group of teenage girls. Ryan also said that after today's work, you'll not only receive payment personally from him, but you'll also get to meet him up close, Barrick said cautiously. What do we need to do? All the fans looked at Barrick, eager to try. 10 minutes later, the nightclub entrance was far from orderly. It had become even more chaotic. The group of female fans joined in maintaining order, immediately clashing with those who weren't following the rules. Move your feet back. Behind the line, I'm talking to you. What are you wearing? This is such an important occasion, and you're wearing this. Go back and change. Right now, this group of female fans were all fierce and menacing. If anyone dared to talk back, 3 of them would immediately gang up on that person. When it came to arguing, these unreasonable women actually had an advantage. Aside from anything else, their voices were all incredibly loud. There weren't that many troublesome people present today, but there were just too many people, and the situation was too chaotic. Their addition really had an immediate effect. Shit, it looks pretty good, Barrick remarked. Looking at it this way, even his underlings didn't seem so appealing anymore. What are you standing there for? Go and direct the traffic, Barrick kicked one of his men in the butt. On the other side, Diodario stood by the bar. The long, narrow bar was now like an assembly line. The waiters he had hired were mixing drinks at full speed, their arms almost breaking from shaking. As for the group of hot college girls Ryan brought along, they not only didn't complain, but they also worked very carefully and diligently. Their only flaw was that they weren't quite familiar with the procedures, but these girls were all dressed incredibly provocatively. Their low-cut tops making them look stunning. This actually attracted many customers to buy drinks, and the bar area was bustling with activity. Diodario chuckled. He'd seen people make noodles, but he'd never seen anyone use them like this. Meanwhile, backstage, Ryan finally received an important visitor, the headliner for the day, Iron Man. As the second-ranked DJ in this year's Top 100 DJs, and out of respect for this veteran of the electronic music scene, Ryan placed Iron Man as the headliner. He would be performing here for the next week. Besides Iron Man, deadmau5, Dipinipal, and Kevin Harris, who had reached a signing agreement with Ryan, would also perform. Even if this lineup couldn't compare to some top music festivals, it was still a star-studded event for a nightclub. With his momentum still high, having just won the Billboard charts and gained a huge following through the acquisition, Ryan's appeal to potential audiences had reached a new level. As for Joel, Ryan had placed him at the very beginning of the opening act. He was currently performing on the DJ stage, but Ryan wasn't providing him with a microphone and had hired a dedicated mic to create a lively atmosphere. Ladies and gentlemen, after rave, there's endless rave. Tonight is the night of revelry. The mixed shots could be faintly heard backstage, but in Ryan's mind, these words changed. They became a song. "It's hard to believe that there are such popular nightclubs in America," Tisa remarked, only to find that Ryan beside him didn't respond at all. Chapter 108 Live Skill Show. "Ryan," Uncle Iron looked at the young man beside him. Ryan then came back to his senses. "I was thinking about something just now," Ryan said absent-mindedly. In fact, the feeling of déjà vu had just given him a new piece of music, called Rave After Rave. This electronic music was quite similar to the original Tremor, with the same structure, and even the timbre was almost identical, making extensive use of jagged wave effects. Obviously, this was also a big room track. He felt that in his current state, he could even complete the arrangement directly on stage. Should he try producing it directly for a live performance? If it succeeded, it would definitely cause a sensation. After all, even dumb punk couldn't achieve this level, right? But what if it went wrong? Ryan fell into deep thought. On the other side, manager Sean came backstage and began to introduce the current nightclub to Uncle Iron and his team. "How much did this nightclub cost?" Texto whispered to Sean. The total investment was about $10 million, Sean didn't mind telling him directly. If he really wanted to, he could estimate a rough figure. Uncle Ty raised an eyebrow, glancing at Ryan beside him again, a hint of curiosity in his eyes. Where did this kid get so much money? Could he be the descendant of some wealthy American? Over the remaining hours, Dead Rat, Dip Nipple, and Kevin Harris finished their performances. It was already 11 p.m. Ryan stood at the corner backstage, looking at the packed main hall. In reality, the number of attendees tonight was definitely more than 1,500. Tickets were sold online in partnership with Ticketmaster. Initially, there was no time limit on the tickets. By the time Ryan realized the ticket sales were so high that he had to limit the number of attendees, nearly 4,000 tickets had already been sold. In other words, the number of attendees was probably more than double the planned maximum capacity, making it extremely crowded. People were shoulder to shoulder, dancing was out of the question, and even turning around would be difficult. Just then, Kevin Harris's performance abruptly ended. He had just performed his hits so far, including The Girls, Vegas from his debut album, and In My Arms with Kylie Minogue. He had even had to drink 2 glasses of wine before meeting Kylie Minogue because he was so nervous. Kevin Harris went backstage and high-fived Ryan. The moment Ryan stepped onto the stage, the entire audience erupted in a deafening roar of cheers. It was fair to say that most of the people present today were there for Ryan. Ryan didn't start performing immediately. Instead, he took the microphone, expressed some apologies to the guests present, and then changed the subject. "But before today's performance, I want to try something different. This might be the first time in history that someone has tried this." He walked back to the DJ booth. On the big screen, professional VJs were creating 3D geometric animations that matched the sound effects, presenting high and low frequencies in real time. Ryan adjusted the sampler, then switched to C major, and then, like playing the piano, began to play a melody 56535321565355687. Then the twisting started looping, and the main melody of Rave After Rave began to play repeatedly. Next came the beat, a 4/4 bass drum at the typical big room tempo of 128 BPM, followed by a snare drum and clapping. Then came the bass section. Ryan used sub-bass and mid-bass. The basic framework of an electronic piece was complete. At this point, everyone, including the audience, realized what Ryan was planning. "He's going to create music live," Taylor Swift exclaimed in surprise from the box. She was leaning on the railing of the second-floor box, a semi-open space. This was the only decorated box Ryan used to entertain acquaintances. Taylor, Abigail, Therese, and Paris Hilton were in the box. Standing next to Paris was another young woman, blonde and blue-eyed, with a similar makeup style and height. She was Nikki Hilton, Paris Hilton's younger sister. Although they grew up together, their personalities were completely different. Paris was more flamboyant and rebellious, while Nikki was quieter and less likely to appear in public. Compared to her sister, Nikki was more in line with the traditional image of a wealthy heiress. Her husband a few years later would be a Rothschild. Live production? Like playing the piano live, huh? He's quite creative, knows how to do some creative performances, Paris Hilton thought. As a party animal, she not only enjoyed electronic music but also developed a curiosity about it, otherwise, she wouldn't have made that invitation to Ryan at the party. Of course, lusting after Ryan's body was more important. The next second, Taylor turned her head, her eyes like a venomous snake looking at her. "Can I even praise your boyfriend? I wouldn't dare mess with your boyfriend," Paris smiled. Even if she were to mess with him, it would be when he wasn't around. She didn't want to fight him. She had already heard about Taylor's scathing attack on Miley Cyrus at the party, leaving Miley visibly upset. At the recent VMAs, Taylor and Miley were originally supposed to co-host the event outdoors, but they both declined. Taylor then turned her gaze away and patiently explained, "This isn't a live performance. This song has never been performed before, it's an impromptu creation." This statement immediately drew everyone's attention. "Really?" Nikki asked incredulously. "If it's Ryan, I believe he could do it," Taylor nodded, looking at Ryan in the distance with admiration in her eyes. Meanwhile, Ryan's impromptu creation, or rather, his technical display, continued. He first adjusted the main melody, adding reverb, delay distortion, and other effects. He then added some soft pluck sounds as a secondary melody track. Although the volume was low, it was like the last sprinkle of pepper in a dish, a subtle yet powerful flavor. And of course, there were the crucial sound effects tracks. The song featured a significant amount of white noise, impact effects, and frequency sweeps. These are also essential, like hanging decorations on an empty wall after renovation. Finally, ambient and transition tracks are added, and the song is almost finished in less than 5 minutes, all witnessed by thousands of audience members and recorded by at least hundreds of cameras, camcorders, and mobile phones. Backstage, DJs like Dipiniple, Kevin, and Deadmau5 exchanged bewildered glances. Who told Ryan to be so unreasonable? He wasn't giving them any chance to perform. How were they supposed to perform after this? Then they couldn't help but look at Uncle Iron beside them, whose face was as stern as his name suggested. He not only had to follow Ryan's performance, but he was also the headliner. These young people these days have no sense of propriety. Where does this leave the old guard? Uncle Iron shook his head and chuckled, forced a nod. The contract was signed, he couldn't just back out now, could he? If you are listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means it was downloaded and re-uploaded without effort. We warmly invite you to visit our channel, Fanfic World. There you will find the original version of this story and many other novels of various genres. We look forward to seeing you dive into a world of incredible novels. Chapter 109. She still has to thank us. 40 minutes later, Ryan looked like he'd just stepped out of the gym, a fine layer of sweat on his forehead. As a DJ, he had to get the atmosphere hyped. When it was time to jump around, he had to jump around. He was thinking to himself that he definitely needed to install an air conditioner above the DJ booth. It's almost midnight, and Uncle Iron is about to take the stage, but before that, I have something even more important to announce. My record company has actually been established, right here. Ryan pointed to the ceiling. That's right, this is where the record company is located. This is both a nightclub and a record company. Our artists will perform here, and not only that, we will also release limited edition tracks. Only here, you can hear the sound, Ryan said, emphasizing each word. The audience erupted in cheers, many women riding on their boyfriend's shoulders, hands raised high. The rave after rave we just heard was the first limited edition track. Besides that, I have something even more important to announce. Announce, where are the staff? Ryan abruptly changed the subject. Backstage, the staff member at the computer was dozing off. Joel and D-Ball immediately ran over to check on him. The staff member belatedly removed his earphones and started typing. At the same time, a photo suddenly appeared on the large screen behind Ryan. The effect on the 3-story high super high-definition screen was stunning. The photo looked like someone's bedroom, tissues were on the table, and a corner of a small umbrella packaging was under the pillow. It had a very homey feel. Besides the computer, the table at home was piled with a lot of music equipment, and the floor was a tangled mess of cables. This is my bedroom, Ryan pointed behind him. It's also where my music career started, so when I wanted to set up a record company, I thought of this place, Ryan continued. The large screen behind him changed again, displaying a black logo. To commemorate this time, I named the record company Bedroom. He still can't come up with a name, Taylor chuckled, resting his chin on his hand. This was probably the only thing Ryan did poorly. Although the name was rather ordinary, The audience still erupted in enthusiastic cheers. And my first solo EP, Ryan immediately moved on to the next segment, the image on the large screen behind him changing again. Homework. To pay homage to, plagiarize, dumb punk, I named the EP the same. This EP is my homework, isn't it? Ryan had spent a fortune buying back the mastering rights from Scout, and he had to recoup that money. Including today's limited track, there are 5 singles in total. The EP has already started pressing and will be released soon. We're also designing a collector's edition, of course. There's also Taylor's new album, which will be released soon. As you all know, because her record company was acquired, there were some issues that caused her new album to be delayed, Ryan chuckled. To settle accounts with Scott, Ryan postponed Taylor's new work, also to give Taylor enough exposure and time. The audience below, of course, knew what had happened, and collectively cheered. She's in the second floor box, saying hello to everyone, darling, Ryan waved at Taylor. Instantly, everyone in the room looked up. Taylor, who had been chuckling with her hand over her mouth, now raised her hands in a heart shape. The heart shape, tilting her head back to pull the microphone, and the awkward twist were known as Taylor's 3 early signature moves. Finally, there's the announcement of the nightclub brand. To differentiate it from the record label, I changed one letter, Ryan continued. Bad Room. This is my personal nightclub brand. I know there are many audience members who have come from New York and even further afield tonight. Bad Room's initial plan is to expand to major cities across the US next year, Ryan said. Bad Room is expensive, and rapid expansion would inevitably require leverage and bank loans. However, with the financial crisis, Taylor's father stated that financing costs would be very low for the next 2 years to stimulate the economy. Ryan decided to take advantage of this rare window of opportunity to expand Bad Room nationwide. After his first brand launch, Ryan returned backstage feeling relaxed. Diodario immediately handed him a water glass and considerately wiped his sweat. Their intimate behavior and lack of restraint were obvious to the backstage staff, including several DJs, who naturally understood what was going on. However, this was Ryan's private matter, so everyone pretended not to see it. As for Uncle Iron, he could only grit his teeth and go on stage with a straight face. After about an hour of performance, the opening show finally came to an end. Starting at 2 o'clock, people began to leave, and it wasn't until 4 in the morning that almost everyone had left. I know, no problem, Ryan put down his phone. The call was from David Cuda, who also wanted to perform on the Bad Room stage. Although Uncle Iron's performance wasn't as amazing as Ryan's, he didn't mention leaving. In fact, he wanted to perform for a few more days. The atmosphere was fantastic. The other DJs thought the same way. Establishing a foothold here was equivalent to opening up the market in the United States. After all, there weren't many DJs like Ryan. Nightclubs, or rather stages, and DJs are inherently interdependent. DJs can make a nightclub popular, and conversely, a nightclub with a special status can also make a DJ successful. Many DJs consider performing at a nightclub an honor. This is Ryan's goal. In his view, Bad Rooms are not only a cash cow and a piece of lucrative meat, but also the most crucial link in the DJ industry chain, backed by the American consumer market, and have strategic value. Seeing Ryan hang up the phone, Sean continued his report. All the drinks are sold out, even cherry-flavored Coke, including drinks. What's the average spending per audience member? Sean gave Ryan a figure that exceeded his expectations, then reminded him, however, the people who came today are all wealthy, so the average spending might be higher than later guests. Just then, a waiter suddenly ran in. Boss, the area outside has been cleared out. Besides the group of fans you mentioned, there are still a dozen or so unclaimed girls who can't be woken up at all. If you can find their phones, notify their families to come and pick them up, Ryan said. They don't have any phones, some don't even have clothes, the waiter explained. Then just throw them all into the private room and send 2 waitresses in to take care of them, pay them overtime. Ryan had no choice but to say, as he couldn't think of a better solution for the time being. He couldn't possibly take them all home. By the way, Ryan, what about those fans? They're still waiting to see you, Sean asked hurriedly. I almost forgot about them. Have Diodario drive over with a few people to buy some food, Ryan said. He wouldn't buy McDonald's, he was determined to boycott it. 40 minutes later, Ryan arrived at the main hall and saw the group of female fans surrounding Taylor. They had probably already gone through the procedures of taking photos and getting autographs, and they were now chatting casually. "You look much better than on TV, your skin is so good." At this moment, Daddario returned with a few people, carrying bags and bags of food. "Today's situation is a bit special, so I could only think of these things on the spot. Of course, there will be some compensation for everyone later." Ryan took the initiative to distribute the food, and then Taylor pulled him aside. "Isn't it a bit inappropriate to treat fans like this?" Taylor asked with some concern, mainly because she was afraid that if word got out, public opinion would be unfavorable to Ryan. Taylor's career perfectly embodies her manager's words: "If you want to sell 500,000 records, you have to meet 500,000 people." She interacts with fans frequently, always showing approachability. And the fans reward her. Her tours are almost always sold out, mostly in large stadiums, uncommon for female singers. Even more impressive is her dedication. She's performed nearly 600 tours throughout her career, as of 2024. In comparison, Mariah Carey has 350 tours to date, including 50 in Las Vegas, and Madonna has only 700. Keep in mind that Madonna started touring in the 1980s. But that's a story for another time. Not good? "They should thank me," Ryan smiled. Taylor shook her head, then noticed some people holding food, not intending to eat, and some were even crying. Taylor assumed they felt mistreated and bullied, so she quickly went over to comfort them. "No, I just think this kind of food is so rare, I want to take it home as a souvenir." The female fan had tears in her eyes, not from sadness, but from pure excitement. Taylor sighed and glanced at Ryan, who was secretly amused. Ryan had also made up his mind. He would do what Taylor wouldn't, and he would harvest the crops Taylor dared not harvest. Just as he was worrying about how to sell the collector's edition of the EP, Ryan suddenly had a new idea. Chapter 110 Coup. After dinner, Ryan called a cart to take the female fans away. As for the Florida beauties Paul brought, several expressed a desire to continue coming, essentially wanting to hang out there regularly and enter through the back door without paying. Their excuse was, "I know the owner, it would also make it easier to hook up with rich guys." Ryan agreed. It was essentially a win-win situation. Their presence would add some color to the nightclub, and these were legitimate female college students, considered among the best in the scene. "You guys should contact Daddario." Ryan initially wanted to say Paul, but then thought better of it. Letting Paul handle this was like having a rat guard the granary. If he didn't have so much to do, Ryan would have even taken charge himself, perhaps even checking their quality to see if they were artificial or naturally born. After seeing off the outsiders, a bunch of friends and family remained. Therese was yawning constantly, to the point of falling asleep the moment she sat down. She was getting old, and holding on until this point was really taking its toll. "Ryan, when will your nightclub open in Los Angeles?" In contrast, Paris Hilton was full of energy, chattering away to everyone. Ryan hadn't finalized a specific plan yet. His immediate focus was on getting the first nightclub open as scheduled, not thinking about anything beyond that. "If you need funding later, I can invest," Paris Hilton winked, her tone serious. As a socialite, she was shrewd. She wouldn't do anything that would lose money. She had personally witnessed the nightclub's booming business and was confident it would establish itself in Florida. With Ryan's name on the business, opening in Los Angeles would be a guaranteed moneymaker. Moreover, Ryan himself had plans for rapid expansion, so he proactively offered to invest. "I'll contact you then," Ryan replied politely with a smile. This reminded him that rapid expansion through self-operation was definitely slower than franchising, but he didn't want to relinquish all control. Partnering with a local tycoon was the best solution, alleviating financial and manpower pressures. However, Ryan didn't care about Paris's connections, so his reply was more of a formality. "Let me introduce you, this is my sister, Nikki," Paris introduced. "I didn't expect you to have such a beautiful sister," Ryan said after a quick look. Looking at her now, she seemed like the real Hilton heiress, although the Hilton Group had already been sold to Blackstone this year. The so-called heiress was just a title. As for beauty, she can't compare to Tay-Tay, Nikki laughed. "Of course, Taylor is the most beautiful woman in the world in my eyes." She put her arm around Taylor's slender waist and pulled her into her arms. Taylor didn't mind being affectionate with Ryan in front of everyone, wrapping her arms around his neck. Daddario, seeing this, simply lowered his head slightly, avoiding looking at the sweet couple. "Abigail is here too, don't leave her hanging," Taylor whispered to Ryan. "Let's invite her in tonight." The three of us can catch up, Ryan said, taking it a step further. You're exhausted, Taylor complained, annoyed by Ryan's temper. He'd been busy all this time, and she was still thinking about that. If I'm exhausted, where are you going to cry? Ryan retorted, pinching Taylor's cheeky little finger. Taylor snorted, patted Ryan's shoulder, and pulled away from his embrace. Ryan dismissed the others. The staff and employees hadn't left yet, the main hall was a mess, and the employees would be cleaning up until dawn. Dario, you've worked hard tonight. You can go home now, Taylor said, looking at Dario. Dario glanced at Ryan, then nodded to Taylor. As a former undercover agent, Taylor had interacted with Dario quite a bit before, but this time in Florida, upon discovering that Dario had become Ryan's right-hand man, Taylor barely spoke to him. She clearly sensed that Dario and Ryan's relationship was progressing too quickly. Ryan often thought of Dario first. Don't underestimate these seemingly mundane tasks. As she did them, she became Ryan's spokesperson. This was incredible. You all saw it today. Nightclubs need a lot of staff, which is difficult to recruit quickly. Also, rapid expansion will cause management problems and inefficiency. So I've decided that this time, fans will be given priority in recruitment, Ryan said with his eyes closed on the way back. He was half reclined in the back seat, his head resting on Taylor's lap, a surprisingly comfortable lap pillow. The fans' help today gave Ryan an idea. Those recruited this way, regardless of anything else, would at least be loyal to him from the start. Not just for nightclub employees, but for all future recruitment. Unless it was for a specifically required position, Ryan would prioritize fans. As for the collector's edition, I've thought of a new idea, Taylor. Do you have a dedicated fan website? No, Taylor shook her head. You need to create one too, like the various events held in a church, where believers gather together. These people interact, not only feeling a sense of belonging but also promoting each other, becoming even more loyal, Ryan suggested. Humans are social animals, influenced by those around them and the atmosphere. Perception is paramount, the truth itself is less important. Ryan used also to indicate he had made up his mind. So how do we prove it, or rather, how do we filter these fans? Taylor asked tentatively. It's simple, let money do the talking. For example, release a collector's edition record with a tag that allows users to register on an online forum. That way, the forum will be full of core fans, Ryan casually remarked. Finally over, back at the house Ryan bought in Orlando, Taylor breathed a sigh of relief, these words mostly on Ryan's behalf. She then turned around, chuckled twice, and snuggled into Ryan's arms. Outside, she had told Ryan to rest at home, but now that they were home, she was more proactive than anyone else. However, considering Ryan's fatigue, Taylor unusually decided to help him bathe. Is the pressure okay, boss? In the bathroom, Taylor massaged Ryan's temples. You're a massage material, Ryan said, quite satisfied. Did Dario say this when he was serving you? Taylor changed the subject. Ryan naturally denied it 3 times in a row. I don't like the two of you spending all your time together now. I'll have Erica switch with him, and she'll be your assistant from now on, Taylor immediately added. Dario was a fake undercover agent, Erica was the real one. Ryan remained unfazed. Since you're not happy, then let them switch. However, I've been too busy lately, and Dario is gradually getting used to things. Switching them now might cause a lot of problems. It would be best to wait until next year. Next year? No way, at the latest, 1 month. That's enough time for them to hand over their work. Taylor gave a firm order, directly forcing her hand. Soon it'll be my EP, your new album, and the signing of a new artist to a record company. The fan website also needs to be set up. With so many things piling up, it might be difficult to handle in a month, right? Ryan's principle was to stall for time first, then arrange a new job for Dario. Ideally, she and Taylor would never see each other again, to avoid jealousy. Taylor, quick-witted, said, since you're so busy, let's send Erica over first. My new album hasn't been released yet, so I don't need her for a while. We can also use this time to hire someone else. Since they couldn't be separated for the time being, they'd better put a warning sign between them immediately. Thank you so much, you're welcome, darling, it's because I love you. Taylor's hand reached down. A battle between masters, every move deadly. Chapter 111 Fan Forum. Nameplate, are you sure? Scott's voice came through the receiver. In a secluded spot near the back entrance of the nightclub, Ryan was on the phone with Scott. Ryan had already had the finance department and Scott reconcile nearly a year's worth of accounts for the large organization. Most of the suspicious expenditures had been smoothed over by the cunning Scott. For the few that were truly unclear, Scott claimed he had been cheated by his subordinates and said he would help Ryan recover some of it, essentially giving back some money. As for the earlier expenditures, apart from the fact that they were from a long time ago and Taylor hadn't released an album yet, only generating revenue from performances, Ryan had turned a blind eye. But now, with the finance department under Ryan's watchful eye, and Taylor's father keeping an eye on him, ready to find fault at any moment, Scott dared not even think about it anymore. Yes, something like a necklace, like one of those dog tags for celestial soldiers, Ryan described. It's doable, Scott nodded. Celebrities sell merchandise, and Disney Channel is the best at this, with other companies also collaborating with celebrities. However, I have some special requirements. Each name tag must have a unique code on the front, starting from 1, and a unique key string must be stamped on the back. I can agree to the first condition, but the second condition is not only difficult to do, but also costly, involving mold issues. Scott didn't quite understand the specifics. Then let's put the key string in the collector's edition album, and the collector's edition album will only be sold online for a limited time. Is that possible? I can contact online sales platforms for joint sales, but they will charge a 30% commission. No problem, this is still cheaper than offline physical stores, at least for consumers. That's right, the sales rules also need to be redesigned. The name tag's serial number should be determined according to the order of purchase. That is to say, the faster someone buys it, the earlier their serial number will be. Does all this make sense? Don't worry about that. Just do it as quickly as possible. Okay, I'll start preparing today, and it will be online within a week. Ryan hung up the phone and went upstairs. This area would later belong to the record company, but it hadn't been renovated yet and was still in a bare state. There were already 20 or 30 young people in line, applicants for relevant positions and also Ryan's fans. Most of them were women. Ryan began interviewing them one by one. A female programmer at Bester. Ryan looked at the resume and couldn't help but ask. Yes, I'm in charge of Bester's online website. I've done front-end development, and I'm currently doing back-end development, the young woman replied seriously, a handbag on her lap and thick glasses. Bester is a DVD rental chain with multiple stores nationwide, headquartered in Florida, but its business has been gradually shrinking in recent years. How old are you? Almost 28. Are you married? Divorced? Do you have a child? 1, 3 years old. So, the probability of her taking maternity leave is low. Ryan nodded. Although her resume listed many projects she had worked on and her skills description mentioned proficiency in a bunch of programming languages, Ryan couldn't understand it at all. She asked directly, if I asked you to create a forum with a simple interface and functions, but with a corresponding key activation system, could you handle it by yourself? It depends on your desired launch time, she said. Within a week, that should be possible, she imagined. Then it's possible. I can, she nodded. Expected salary. Ryan saw the requirements on the resume, stood up without hesitation, and proactively extended her hand. Welcome to the team. What should I call you? Veronica. Great, Veronica. If it's convenient, you can start work today. Today? That's not impossible, but, she looked around. You want me to work here? She asked cautiously. I can give you special privileges. You can work from home for now. You have a computer at home, right? Yes, that's good. It would save on expenses for now. By the way, keep the first 100 numbers as internal numbers. When you design it, start from 101, Ryan reminded her. 2 minutes to go. A female college student in Florida sat in front of her computer, mouse already in place, ready to click as soon as the button lit up. Is it really necessary? Her boyfriend, seeing the price displayed on the page, couldn't help but gasp. A normal album costs between $12 and $16, usually around $11.99 or $12.99. EPs are even cheaper, some as low as $5.99. Ryan's EP, however, is priced at $8.99 for the regular edition and a collector's edition at $39.99, including a beautiful box, a booklet, and a unique numbered nameplate. Keep in mind, this is an EP. Selling a collector's edition of an EP is unprecedented for Ryan. This has drawn criticism online, with many feeling Ryan's behavior is greedy. Only selling for 2 days? Is it really necessary? Even if you don't use it, you can resell the nameplate on a second-hand website, the girl said. Ryan hadn't mentioned any fan site at all. It's pointless. Only women would buy this useless stuff, her boyfriend said. He would only buy the standard edition. Really? You bought the collector's edition of the video games, didn't you? You can play the standard edition too, right? She retorted. Her boyfriend was stumped. It was midnight in the blink of an eye, and the young female college student immediately clicked the mouse. A few seconds later, a notification popped up. A large 167 appeared on the screen. The female college student wanted to click again, but it prompted that one IP address could only purchase one copy. 2 days later, the same young couple, while the female college student was being affectionate, she mentioned the latest news. After the 2-day limited time sale of the collector's edition, Ryan's MySpace immediately released an announcement that he would create a website exclusively for fans, and he would personally interact with fans on the website. This website is currently in closed beta testing, and those who buy the collector's edition will have a closed beta activation code, and the serial number will be displayed on the website. No wonder one IP address can only purchase one copy, the female college student suddenly realized. Great. Now I can interact with Ryan in real time, she said with anticipation. This smile left her boyfriend with mixed feelings. They were supposed to be being affectionate, but his girlfriend was thinking about another man. The bitterness was unimaginable. Seeing her boyfriend's lack of reaction, the female college student got up and turned on her computer again. She had originally planned to buy something on eBay, but was shocked to find that people were already reselling activation codes. These codes were all lucky numbers like 11,111 and 22,222. The code 3 had already started auctioning, and the price had soared to tens of thousands of dollars, enough to buy 2 used cars. There must be some wealthy fans among them, the female college student casually remarked. Other lucky codes were selling for at least several $100s. In short, those who could afford them were fans who didn't care about money. Her boyfriend, however, thought a step further. Such a large number of phone numbers being sold so quickly must be reserved by insiders. Why do you care? You're not buying any. The woman opened the top-level domain of Ryan Rivers' name and found it was already successfully connected. Although the physical album hadn't arrived yet, the activation code could already be viewed directly in the sales information. The female college student skillfully completed the registration and discovered it was just a forum, already designed with several sections and several real-time chat rooms. The screen scrolled rapidly, and the female college student only had time to read a few messages. 22,222. I spent a full $2,000 on eBay. Ryan, can you give me a kiss? 10,000. Auntie will always love you. 8,733. We took a picture together in Austin. Do you remember me? 882. I work in Silicon Valley. Are you still hiring tech people? This website is terrible. 412. Have you seen the website spits? That 3 has already skyrocketed to almost 20,000. 112. There are still 10 minutes left in the auction. Maybe it will reach 30,000. 13. It might even be 40,000. 5,854. Ryan, I want to eat chicken. 13. Eat your M. 14. Haha. Taylor is angry. 9,321. Where is Taylor? Who is Taylor? 167. How could it be that expensive? By the way, isn't Taylor Swift's lucky number 13? The female college student typed a reply. 22,222. That makes sense. So the question is, who is 14? The fact is beyond everyone's expectations. The only single-digit serial number that appeared on the entire network saw its price skyrocket in the last few minutes of the auction. It was eventually snapped up by a mysterious buyer from Arkansas for $60,000. 13. Ryan's fans are really rich. Also, I am not Taylor. 5,854. Ryan, I want to eat chicken. 13. Chapter 112. The big news you wanted, idol. Maybe you were too excited, and since it's an internal forum, you might have been a bit too bold with your words. You won't be angry with the netizens, will you? Ryan glanced at Taylor beside him in front of the computer. Taylor took a deep breath and then flashed a forced magnanimous smile. Of course not, it was just a joke. That's good. Ryan typed on the keyboard. Ryan, I heard someone wants to play PUBG. 5,854. Me. 10,000, plus 1, 167, plus 1. The screen was full of plus 1s. Taylor immediately closed the laptop, straddled Ryan, and started scratching and hitting him. But soon, with the appearance of a new message, Ryan and Taylor sat back down in front of the computer. 3. Didn't expect it to be so lively here, Ryan. Greetings, boss. What else is there to say? Greetings. A row of uniform greetings from the bottom. 60,000 yuan for a forum activation code? That's a family's income for a year or even 2 years. Taylor couldn't help but sigh. This amount of money is probably like buying a bottle of Coke for her, Ryan replied casually. The difference in wealth between people is greater than that between a person and a dog. So, the number of people who can afford this price, especially a woman, is extremely limited in the entire US. The user's location is Arkansas, right? Taylor speculated. Ryan nodded. Taylor then Googled keywords like Arkansas, wealthy person, woman. I think I know who it is, Taylor exclaimed after seeing the search results. Ryan only glanced at them briefly, not taking them seriously. Even if it is this person, she wouldn't want to reveal her identity, Ryan said. Taylor nodded. That was true. Ryan and this important figure were just a singer and a fan. The person simply appreciated Ryan's talent and expressed support. How much money did you make this time? Taylor asked, looking at the scrolling screen, and joined the chat again. A single serial number 3 sold for $60,000, plus a dozen or so premium numbers, totaling about $20,000. The standard edition sold 60,000 digital copies in its first weekend. We don't know the physical album sales figures yet, but assuming a 50-50 split, plus about 30,000 collector's editions, estimated gross profit, $32 plus $26 plus $59 plus $8,000, $1.25 million. Taylor, who had been resting her elbow on the table, slid it off. How can it be so much? Taylor was astonished. The profit mainly comes from the collector's edition, and this is just an estimated gross profit. The physical editions might not sell that many. Ryan reached out and pulled Taylor to his side. Taylor knew that under normal circumstances, collector's editions wouldn't sell that many, let alone an EP's collector's edition. No one had ever done this before. Ryan had come up with the idea of a limited time sale, and now that the beta activation code news was released, the price of premium numbers skyrocketed. It could be said that Ryan had considered everything beforehand and implemented the plan step by step. Who can outsell you? Taylor feigned a mournful face, not genuinely dejected. She was overjoyed by Ryan's success, but her new album was also due for release. This was Ryan's first major move since acquiring Big Machine, impacting not only his investment but also her career. The pressure was immense. It doesn't matter how much you sell, don't put too much pressure on yourself. Ryan began to swipe his fingers. In truth, given Taylor's current scale and the quality of her new album, losing money was impossible. The only difference was how much profit she would make. Taylor bit her lip and slowly closed her eyes. Ryan guided Taylor to turn around and kneel on the sofa. Taylor braced herself on the table, hastily covering the keyboard. 13, 20 random characters, 13, 13 random characters, 13, 5 random characters. The chat room was immediately flooded with random characters. 5,854. It started. Ryan and Taylor have started. 167. Started what? 22,222. What else could it be? It has to be a game between adults. 10,000. It's only 7 p.m. Young people have so much energy. 9,864. Watching. 3. Watching. 15. Watching. 5,854. Start timing. 1, 2, 3, 100. 167. Go Ryan. 8,733. Go Ryan. In her haste, Taylor swung her hand behind her back, accidentally pushing the laptop aside. She didn't even notice she'd accidentally pressed a button, and the laptop's webcam immediately turned on. The angle was off, only capturing Ryan, and only half of his body. But even that half-body shot was enough to tell the whole story. 10,000. Holy shit. Is this the internal forum? 167. 5,854. I'm going to get something. 3. That 60,000 was totally worth it. 22,222. OMG. Ryan's amazing. 15. Tisk tisk. Big show. 14. Who are you? Number 15. 15. And who are you? 14. Private message. Actually, The indoor lighting was quite dim, with only the screen emitting light, making it impossible to see Ryan's face clearly. There was no microphone, and no sound. So, these fans were mostly just imagining things. Not long after Ryan left the computer, the camera only captured him for less than a minute. About an hour later. "It's so hot, I'm sweating buckets." Taylor quickly fanned herself with her hand and gently nudged Ryan with her foot. "Go get me something to drink." Ryan got up and went to get 2 cans of soda. Taylor gulped down most of the can, then let out a satisfied burp and rubbed her stomach. "I can feel a heat, Ryan. Do you think we should make a big splash to coincide with a new album release?" "Break up," Ryan said casually, drinking his soda. Taylor immediately sat up straight. "You really think that?" Her voice had changed. "If you dare abandon me, I'll shit you." Taylor raised her hand and tapped Ryan's forehead. Her voice was unusually calm, even a little eerie. "I meant a fake breakup. You're not trying to make a big splash, are you? Besides, we're already tied together. How can we break up?" Ryan immediately pulled her into his arms. "That's more like it." Taylor nodded. "The big splash I'm talking about is that kind of news." She was a little embarrassed. "Unplanned pregnancy? That's a good idea," Ryan immediately said, then started calculating. "You release an album every 2 years, you still owe me 6 kids, perfect, and you can take a year off between each one. Get lost. Do you think I'm a machine?" Taylor laughed angrily, tickling Ryan's armpits. After a while of playful fighting, Taylor had to face reality, lying on the bed, looking at the ceiling. "Time is running out, the new album is about to be released, and you're not fit to be a mother yet," Ryan said matter-of-factly, assuming Taylor was just naive. Taylor, not yet 20, didn't understand the hidden meaning in Ryan's words, simply assuming. "Besides, pregnancy will definitely affect work. And raising a child is too much work. It's better to raise a cat." Ryan shook his head. "No need for any big news. I have confidence in your songs." "Okay," Taylor nodded. The second single's music video was about to start filming, and she had already arranged a time with Ryan. Ryan would continue to play the male lead, and this time, she would play 2 roles in the music video. Ryan then got up, went to the computer, and turned on the screen. "Taylor, what is it?" Taylor twirled a strand of her golden hair between her fingers. "The big news you've been waiting for is probably here." Ryan's voice trembled slightly for the first time. Chapter 113, Intentional or Accidental? Taylor walked past Ryan, wearing a robe loosely draped over her shoulders. She walked quickly barefoot on the tiled floor, her pale insteps glistening under the light, revealing the green veins. Taylor turned and walked past Ryan again. Her hair, which had been tied up, now fell loose, the ends brushing against her cheek, but she didn't bother to fix it. She paced anxiously back and forth in the living room. "I can't face anyone anymore," Taylor cried out, turning back to Ryan, deliberately making noise to get his attention. "Think of something," she pleaded, sitting down beside him and grabbing his arm, her expression almost tearful. "This is exactly what you wanted," Ryan chuckled, looking at his computer screen. What could he do? The damn video had already leaked, spreading to Reddit and other major discussion forums. Ryan was the top trending topic on Twitter. Taylor was second. Ryan and Taylor was third. 1 hour and 50 minutes ranked fourth. Ryan's live stream ranked fifth. Up to the top 8, everything was related to this incident, with the 9th being related to the election. "You weren't even on camera, and I only showed half my face. That's all. The camera only captured half of my body, and there was no sound at all." Ryan reopened the video, having already watched it repeatedly. So, this was definitely not one of those short videos with obvious frontal shots like those of Paris Hilton or Kim Kardashian. "Then how did these people know?" Taylor whispered, her mind blank, still immersed in the shock of fear. "The news came from the forum, and as for how these people knew," Ryan reopened the forum's chat room and started scrolling through the chat history. This scrolling took a full 10 minutes. From the moment Ryan and Taylor clapped to celebrate the forum's successful launch, the entire chat room had become unusually lively. Everyone was discussing the two's real-time progress, and some were even using CAD drawings to vividly illustrate the current scene with legends. Some people kept posting Taylor's patience level, while others reported Ryan's loading time. The PUBG Loving Girl 5854 was the most active, directly engaging in an item-based game, and even posting a photo showing her cat accidentally knocking over a water glass, spilling water everywhere, and in English, cat has another meaning. The expert three even watched the whole thing, remarking on how playful young people are these days. Finally, Ryan found the culprit, a series of garbled messages sent by number 13. I really didn't touch the computer. Your computer broke by itself, throw this thing away. Taylor seemed on the verge of tears. Did your parents call? Ryan understood the situation. They're probably asleep already. They'll probably be furious by tomorrow morning. Taylor buried her face in Ryan's arm, dry crying. She was a little dehydrated earlier and had few tears left. Taylor's phone kept ringing. Clearly friends and colleagues were constantly texting her. Now that it's happened, we have to face it. Call Paula first and see what she has to say. Ryan handed Taylor her phone. You call. I'm too embarrassed to speak, Taylor said weakly. Ryan opened Taylor's phone, and a dozen text message notifications appeared, including messages from Abigail, Selena Gomez, and a group of her best friends, most of them reminding Taylor to check the information online. I'm checking the online comments too. I think instead of publicly clarifying, it's better to respond directly. This was just an accident. Besides, neither of you exposed anything. Besides, you two are adults. Are you going to just sit together and do nothing? The public will understand, Paula said on the other end of the phone. Ryan had the phone on speaker the whole time, and Taylor listened the whole time, but she was still a little lost and didn't know if she had heard anything. Then draft a statement and let me see it later. Post it on MySpace tonight, Ryan said. I've already drafted half of it. I'll send it to you within an hour. Paula hung up the phone. Then Ryan received a call from Scott. Yes, she's all right. Aside from being a little flustered, she's fine. Of course, the second single MV shoot will proceed as scheduled. Everything remains the same. No, taking advantage of this rare discussion time, everything needs to be brought forward. We need to start shooting the new MV immediately. Ryan hung up after a brief conversation with Scott. Ryan asked her to call her parents, but Taylor shook her head repeatedly, hiding behind Ryan and asking Ryan to explain the situation. Ryan had no choice but to call Taylor's mother. Her father and I just fell asleep. What happened? Taylor's mother was woken by the phone call, her voice weak. It's like this, Taylor and I. Ryan looked at the blonde girl beside her, who nodded. We were playing. Ryan was lucky to be thick-skinned enough to tell his mother-in-law this without batting an eye. But we didn't turn off the computer, and Taylor just happened to touch the keyboard. Taylor quickly mouthed something to indicate her innocence. So, some of the footage got leaked, but only a portion. Taylor didn't actually appear, it was just me, and only partially. I see, Taylor's mother sighed, seemingly anticipating this day would come. She then asked, was it intentional or accidental? Of course it was accidental. Ryan raised an eyebrow. Taylor was clenching her hands tightly, her palms sweaty. Since it's happened, what can we do? In short, you two mustn't go too far. Did you take any precautions? Taylor's mother asked directly. Ryan didn't reply. Lately, she hadn't used an umbrella when going out exploring. Ryan, you must protect her from now on. She's my only daughter, no problem. Go downstairs and buy her some medicine later. Let her answer the phone. Ryan handed the phone to Taylor. Mom, Taylor looked dejected. The mother and daughter exchanged a few words. Taylor, initially panicked and almost crying again, finally calmed down with her mother's comfort. She even spoke with her father, presumably getting a scolding, and her expression became somewhat unhappy again. I understand. Taylor hung up the phone. Go buy me some medicine, she nudged Ryan. I have some prepared, Ryan said. Who are you preparing this for? Taylor's voice rose. Who else but you? Ryan pulled open the drawer under the coffee table. Sure enough, there were 4 boxes of medicine inside. There were 7 boxes before, but 3 had been taken by Daddario. Buying so many? This stuff is very harmful to the body. Taylor took the pills and opened the packaging herself. This is what you owe me. I'll remember this for the rest of my life. She tilted her head back and swallowed a pill, then casually threw the packaging into the trash can next to her. Ryan got up to get her some water and came back to find Taylor rummaging through drawers, but there was nothing there except a few brand new boxes. These kinds of medicines are individually packaged, and the old packaging had already been thrown away. What are you looking for? Ryan asked. Looking for something to drink, Taylor said. There's something to drink in the drawer. Taylor shook her head and took the water that was handed to her. It's so hot. Taylor pulled her hand back. Apart from coffee, Westerners don't really have the habit of drinking boiled water. Ryan told her to try it, and Taylor did. It's actually quite comfortable. About half an hour later, a statement was posted on MySpace. The statement was very brief, only stating that due to an accidental operation, some images were released to the public. It also mentioned at the end that anyone who infringed on Ryan and Taylor's right to reputation would be sued. By this time, Taylor had already returned to her room alone and was probably asleep. Ryan glanced at the trash can next to the coffee table, then picked up the trash bag and walked towards the door. Once outside the door, Ryan reached in and rummaged around, finding 2 small pill boxes. Ryan threw away the trash, closed the door, and went back to the room to cuddle Taylor as they fell asleep. Chapter 114 Bitch Face. On an ordinary morning, Therese was woken by her alarm clock. She lay in bed for a while, then slapped the alarm off when it rang again. Stretching, she sat up, feeling a heavy weight on her chest. Over the years, she'd grown accustomed to this weight, though it caused her many inconveniences. For example, she always had to lean to the side to see her stomach when showering. Her ailing father now consumed most of her energy, and she only returned to Nashville when she had work, which ironically made her feel more relaxed. This time back in Nashville, she was responsible for Taylor's second single's music video, something Taylor had already promised her. But one thing often left her feeling empty. Ryan was getting busier and busier, and Therese couldn't remember the last time he'd cooked for her. She knew that food, like men, lost its flavor after a particularly good experience. Right, hadn't he given her an activation code yesterday to register for some fan forum? Therese suddenly remembered something else. She got up, took a crumpled piece of paper from her bag, turned on her computer, logged into Ryan Rivers' primary domain, and completed the registration. Serial number 12? What does that mean? Terry asked curiously, her gaze sweeping across the forum page. Detailed recap of Ryan and Taylor's 1 hour and 50 minutes, ultimate summary of all information, high-definition photos of Ryan on site, a report to those who missed it last night. Ryan gave out some perks last night. I calculated Ryan's size from the photos. Call me the forum's number 1. Various posts on the forum seemed to point to the same thing. Terry read through more than a dozen pages, finally figuring out what had happened while she was sleeping last night. Do celebrities promote themselves this way now? Terry shook her head and chuckled, casually clicking on the size calculation post. She wasn't really interested in Ryan's size, just curious how the other person had calculated it. Pure curiosity. Opening the chat room, she immediately saw people chatting animatedly. It was early morning, and these people had been chatting all night. 5854, just woke up. Thanks Ryan, I've experienced joy I haven't felt in a long time. 22,222, I have to go to work, the store still needs to open. 5,854, 52s, you're actually a boss. 22,222, opened a second-hand store in the community, offline. 16, you guys are so free. 167, another short code, are you also Ryan's friend in real life? 16, I filmed Harlem's first video. Teresa was a little confused when she saw this, vaguely remembering that Harlem's first video was the NYU version. So she typed on the keyboard, 12, you went to college in New York. 26,761, wow, number 12, even earlier than Taylor. Teresa's words immediately attracted a lot of attention, and everyone speculated about Teresa's identity. 5,854, found it, the sugar mom from Ryan's early days as a model in New York has appeared. 16, really, but thinking about it, it's not that outrageous for him to do something like this. 12, I'm not, don't guess, I'm Ryan's mom's good friend. 5,854, I understand, liking your best friend's son is normal. 12, smiling, I'll like your son. 5,854, then come on, let's all three of us. 12, don't not come, what a pervert. Therese chuckled. This isn't a fan forum, it's a pornographic forum. Is Ryan trying to have an impact with his fans? How was I supposed to know things would turn out like this? Ryan shook his head, looking helpless in the face of Teresa's question. The unexpected incident caused the forum's atmosphere to completely shift to vulgarity, and it probably won't change anytime soon. What do those short ID codes mean? Therese asked again. Those within 3 digits are people I know. You're 12, Taylor is 13, Abigail is 14, and the others are listed in order of when I've known them. Ryan said 15 is tall girl, 16 is Alson, 17 is Elena, and 18 is Daddario. To avoid upsetting any of them, he gave activation codes to everyone equally. As for the female model Carly, Ryan wasn't familiar with her. Taylor asked him for 10 more activation codes today, and Ryan gave her 40-50, saying she wanted to give them to her friends and would temporarily use this as a chat room base. Aren't you afraid Taylor will find out? Terry was worried for Ryan. If someone really wants Taylor to know something, they can do it even without this forum, Ryan said. As soon as he finished speaking, Terry saw Ryan's current assistant, Daddario, come over, make a phone call to Ryan, and quickly kiss him on the cheek. Taylor was getting her makeup done next door. She really dared to do that. Terry had noticed Ryan and Daddario's unusual relationship at the nightclub before. She wasn't Abigail, why would Taylor tolerate her? Yes, I know, I'll go back after filming, Ryan, holding the phone, glared at Daddario before heading next door. Watch your step, don't take this lightly. If you get exposed, you'll be the first one abandoned, Terry warned. Terry was afraid that if things were exposed, Taylor would impulsively grab a gun and shoot the two of them. Ryan spent so much time with her, can't I even kiss her? Besides, Taylor's next door, it's just you here. You're not going to tell anyone, are you? Or are you jealous? Daddario laughed. HMPH, girl, there are more than just men in life. You've seen what kind of person Ryan is now, and you're not someone who can't find a boyfriend, Terry advised. Daddario replied without hesitation, I can't live without him now, and he doesn't want to be without me either, is that so? Terry snorted, knowing that Daddario was head over heels. Once a woman is head over heels, nothing anyone says will change her mind. Meanwhile, Ryan entered the room and saw the refreshed Taylor reflected in the mirror, immediately feeling a sense of relief. Taylor was dressed in a cheerleader jumpsuit, wearing a long, straight brown wig, and her makeup was even heavier than before. A staff member was instructing her on how to imitate the mannerisms of a school cheerleader. Remember, when you speak, use a slight California accent, a baby voice, the assistant director said. Like Paris Hilton, Taylor thought of something. Yes, that's it. If you can imitate Paris's mannerisms, then you've already found the essence of this music video, is that so? Taylor saw Ryan enter the dressing room. She stood up, swaying her hips as she walked gracefully to Ryan, then narrowed her eyes, looking somewhat angry, her expression disdainful, her lips twitching slightly. That bitch vibe was immediately apparent. Rather than resembling Paris, she looked more like Emma Roberts, who was 158 centimeters tall but had the aura of a 185 centimeter slut. HMPH, Taylor made a standard head shake gesture and turned back to the makeup mirror. Perfect, the assistant director screamed excitedly. Chapter 115 Why are you wearing Taylor's clothes? Action, the staff clapped the clapperboard. Taylor, wearing a black wig and a pink knit sweater, appeared in the frame in a convertible Z4. In a close-up, she slowly removed her oversized sunglasses, the temples touching her lips. She looked at the camera with a slightly disdainful expression. Beautiful. Taylor, your acting is getting better and better. Tara gave her a thumbs up. Isn't it all thanks to my good training? Ryan was standing next to the monitor, watching Taylor's every smile and gesture on camera. When he first met her, she was somewhat naive, but now she possessed a more alluring, wicked charm. Whether Taylor's artistic talent had infected Ryan was unknown, but he had undeniably changed her. Next, the male lead enters, Terry said into the walkie-talkie. Ryan was wearing a gray coat over a white t-shirt, his hair slightly disheveled, a deliberate styling choice by the stylist to retain a touch of high school naivete. This role was originally intended for the male lead of Good Girl is a Superstar. In another timeline, Taylor and this person were rumored to be dating during a chart-topping campaign, but since he wasn't famous, Taylor quickly lost interest and started another famous Ty-Taylor romance. However, Ryan's stunning looks made even Daddario stare with wide eyes, despite her outfit. Ryan, a naive high school student, was thinking about adult desires. The stand-in is ready, Teresa said, glancing at Daddario. She was also wearing a blonde wig, the ends of which were very messy, deliberately made to look ugly. The script for the You Belong With Me music video had already been written, and Ryan had seen it. It was somewhat influenced by the hit American sitcom Ugly Betty. Simply put, it's a story about an average-looking girl who wins the heart of a handsome guy. As for Taylor's black-haired look, the traditionally glamorous and sassy character is the villain in this short film, and she plays two roles. The current scene requires two Taylors to be present, so a stand-in is necessary. Actually, Daddario and Taylor don't resemble each other, and their body types are completely different, but she's the girl on set closest to Taylor's height. Terry had already found another stand-in, but Ryan rejected it, deciding to give Daddario some acting opportunities, even if it's just as a stand-in. Actors in position. Daddario, sit on this bench. Yes, like that, looking up at the two in the car. Ryan, you know what to do, right? Ryan nodded. It was just a kiss. He'd practiced a lot with Taylor. Action. The crew clapped the clapperboard again. Ryan and Taylor kissed, not a camera trick, but a real kiss. Taylor looks up. Yes, look at Daddario with disdain. Taylor looked up, one hand around Ryan's neck, looking at Daddario provocatively. Daddario crossed his arms, not shying away, meeting Taylor's gaze. Okay, wrap. Terry called for a stop. But Taylor and Daddario remained locked in a staring contest. Ryan sensed something was amiss. Neither of these two were exactly innocent troublemakers. Daddario, get a few coffees, Ryan said directly. Daddario didn't move. Taylor, who had already gotten out of the car, walked over to her. Let me introduce you. This is Erica, my assistant. She'll be going back to Florida with Ryan. You'll be handing over your work to her for a while, and then you'll be working for me. Taylor nodded knowingly. Her black wig was slightly disheveled by the wind, paired with bright eyeshadow and vibrant lipstick. Combined with Taylor's naturally short eyebrows, which already gave her a somewhat fierce look, and the fact that she had undergone a brow lift a couple of years ago to achieve her peak beauty, she now truly looked like a villain. Excuse me, I'm Ryan's assistant. You have no right to order me around, Daddario replied with a smile. Yes, you're Ryan's assistant, but Ryan has already promised me. You've worked hard for so long, it'll be easier for you working for me, Taylor said with a smile. Previously, she had relied somewhat on Ryan when facing important matters, but that didn't mean she lacked her own opinions. With Daddario growing closer to Ryan and their relationship becoming increasingly ambiguous, she instinctively felt a protective instinct, like an animal marking its territory. She was also reminding herself that her relationship with Ryan was far superior to Daddario's. Go buy me and Ryan a coffee now. I want ice and milk, no sugar, and then, Taylor rattled off 4 or 5 additional requests. Got it? It's okay if you can't remember, you can write it down, but don't buy the wrong ones. No one could tell Taylor was deliberately making things difficult, and Ryan certainly knew, but he didn't intend to stop her. Two tigresses can't share one mountain, someone has to be the boss, or there'll be chaos and no peace. Daddario had indeed become a bit too arrogant lately, so Taylor was a good opportunity to teach him a lesson. Ryan naturally ignored Daddario's pleading eyes, so she finally turned around and did as Taylor instructed. When they returned, Taylor and Ryan were resting. Taylor was deliberately flirting, probably to impress Daddario. She would be leaving Ryan for a while soon. Daddario, mentally preparing himself, handed them coffee. Taylor took a sip and couldn't find anything wrong with it. How is it? Everything is exactly as you requested, nothing is off, Daddario said without changing his expression. Well, honey, give us some space, I want to talk to Ryan, Taylor asked herself to keep some distance from Ryan. The 3 days of filming passed quickly. After the outdoor scenes, Taylor filmed indoor shots, changing her makeup and style again, becoming like Ugly Betty, wearing braces and loose cartoon pajamas. They then went to Hendersonville High School to film scenes involving football, cheerleading, and the marching band. Finally, there was a party, where Taylor had 2 completely different outfits, black Taylor and white Taylor. The last shot ended with a close-up of Ryan and white Taylor sharing a passionate kiss. When Terry announced the end of filming, Taylor didn't show happiness. Instead, she visibly appeared somewhat disappointed. Wearing a white dress, she and Ryan arrived hand-in-hand outside the filming location. After filming, Taylor would enter a busy promotional period for her new album and perform at the World Series Finals. Ryan was equally busy, signing new artists, continuing to perform, and dealing with various miscellaneous matters at nightclubs. Let's talk every night, okay, Ryan replied. Remember to eat more fruit, drink more water, protect your voice, and drink less cola, okay, Ryan nodded again. Wear more clothes, it's getting colder, Taylor kept reminding Ryan. If you have any requests, just tell Erica. I've already told her to take good care of you. Don't be shy, Taylor added. For the first time, she acted like a mother, giving Ryan advice. She didn't know when it started, but she had begun to care more and more about Ryan. Although she was still in her childless, cat-loving form, perhaps her changes were more than Ryan had imagined. Ryan parted ways with Taylor that night. Taylor already had 3 new assistants, all arranged by Ryan, plus 2 bodyguards, barracks trusted lieutenants, and a full-time driver. Taylor's mother would also be accompanying her during the promotional period, making everything seem foolproof. Ryan, on the other hand, had 3 assistants, including Erica and Diodario. Erica took over some of Diodario's previous work, helping with scheduling and personal matters. Diodario handled nightclub-related matters, and the third handled record company matters. Each of the 3 had a cell phone with Ryan. Ryan flew back to Florida. Because Erica was with him, Diodario couldn't be as affectionate with Ryan as before, especially after Taylor left. He barely spoke to Ryan during the flight. After landing in Florida, Erica drove Ryan home. Shortly after Erica left, the doorbell rang. As soon as the door opened, Diodario rushed into Ryan's arms. "You just watched her bully me," she punched Ryan. "Did I? I just wanted to tell you not to get too cocky and forget what I told you in the beginning," Ryan said. "How could I forget? Did I tell her about us, or did I talk back to her? I waited so many days, waiting for you and her to finish your time together before I dared to come over. I helped you so much, and what did you give me in return? I didn't ask for anything. I just wanted you to be with me. Where were you when I needed you? Where are you now?" Diodario asked repeatedly. A completely different voice echoed in Ryan's mind. "When you were busy preparing for the nightclub recently, who was with you? Where was she?" "But I never left you," Diodario questioned. "Where you broke down, I didn't leave you. I did more than Taylor. Who took care of you? Did the food in the fridge grow on its own? I admit I can't write songs, I'm not as talented as her, but I'm helping you in my own way. I gave you the shirt off my back when you said to keep you warm, don't leave me." Diodario looked up at Ryan, his words filled with sincerity. "I need you the most." "Wait," Ryan noticed that under her coat seemed to be a red dress. Ryan directly pulled open her coat. Why are you wearing Taylor's clothes?" Ryan's eyebrows twitched. "I know you like them, so I secretly brought them out after filming. My acting skills are no worse than hers, mean girl, right? I can be one too." Diodario directly took off her coat, revealing the sexy, midriff-bearing dress that Black Taylor wore in the last scene of the music video. She had just returned home and specifically changed into this dress. But Ryan wasn't thinking about any of that now, his mind was still flooded with various information about the song. Ryan saw a video. Each frame was a brand new chalk-style doodle, flooding in at once and giving Ryan a splitting headache. Within these drawings, a silhouette was faintly visible. When the light appeared, the silhouette was instantly illuminated, and Ryan was horrified to discover it was Justin Bieber as an adult. If you are listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means it was downloaded and re-uploaded without effort. We warmly invite you to visit our channel, Fanfic World. There you will find the original version of this story and many other novels of various genres. We look forward to seeing you dive into a world of incredible novels. Chapter 116 is full of treasures. Ryan, don't you like it? Diodario, dressed in a red cropped dress reminiscent of Black Taylor, twirled in front of Ryan, but when Ryan didn't react, he asked nervously. Ryan then came to his senses. "I thought of a new song." "What new song? It's not because of what I said earlier, is it?" Diodario's face lit up with surprise. Ryan didn't reply, but turned and sat on the sofa. Diodario immediately followed, facing down, and lay on top of Ryan. As a DJ, using a DJ console was second nature to Ryan. At this moment, his left hand was twisting and his right hand was scratching the discs, his movements fluid and natural. However, the DJ console wasn't playing electronic music, but rather human voices. Ryan's brain was processing the various information he had just received. First, it was an electronic song, with the same structure as Wake Me Up, but leaning more towards pop music, and the chorus was silent. Unlike Wake Me Up, this song has a relatively somber style. The verses only use 3 tracks, vocals, plucked strings, and a small amount of low-frequency bass. The chorus subtly shifts in style, adding drum beats and high-frequency sounds resembling some kind of orchestral instrument, an instrument that seems to originate from India. Ryan thought long and hard, recalling drum beats he'd heard in tropical house electronic music. Kygo, a future star of this genre, is known for his clean, natural sound, evoking images of tropical beaches and warm sea breezes, just like his name suggests. Given the precedent of Wake Me Up, Ryan naturally chose to sing the vocals himself. The only challenge in producing this music was finding that particular instrument. The accompanying information about the song is even more interesting. First, there are 3 authors: Justin Bieber, D-Ball, and Skrillex. Justin Bieber was highly regarded by Scout, who was willing to let Ryan go for his sake. D-Ball, on the other hand, was growing closer to Ryan, having been one of the resident DJs since the Bad Room's inception, never missing a single day. As for Skrillex, Ryan knew nothing about him. He figured he was like the Belgian brothers, Little Martin, and Avicii. None of them had officially debuted yet. This meant another name had been added to his potential signing list. Ryan had previously asked Marvin to help him scout around, and he planned to establish a dedicated talent scouting department at his record company to discover potential newcomers, striving to leave no stone unturned. Of the 3, Justin Bieber surprised Ryan the most. He was only 14 years old, practically a clueless kid. Ryan had often heard Scout talk about him, and Scout had even shown him his vocal and dance training videos. But both his voice in the song and his appearance in the music video were completely different from what Ryan had seen. In this song, he was already a grown-up, probably even older than Ryan was now. So, Scout made the right bet? Did Tinker Bell really become a star? Ryan analyzed the situation and mentally raised Tinker Bell's level of danger. However, getting his follow-up song was a good way to gain an early advantage, allowing the fully fledged Tinker Bell to crush the developing Tinker Bell. Moreover, the song was electronic music, practically tailor-made for Ryan. Ryan was even somewhat excited, wondering if this sense of déjà vu would influence Taylor Swift's future songs. Would she continue with country music? Would she lean towards pop, or even follow Tinker Bell's path and go for electronic music? Extending this further, would these pop stars all switch to electronic music in a few years? Lady Gaga's electronic dance music was currently climbing steadily on the Billboard charts. Ryan felt these predictions were highly likely, and he discovered an even bigger treasure in the music video. The music video was relatively simple, but 2 elements caught Ryan's eye. First, there's the dance element. The music video features numerous dance elements, belonging to the singing and dancing style. Dance allows him to better showcase his body and is more suitable for stage performances. In other words, he's taken another step towards becoming a traditional pop idol, and this song is his transformation work. Thinking about this, Ryan is even more excited for the future. Secondly, there's Justin's clothing in the music video. From a straight man's perspective, Justin is indeed handsome and dashing in the video, a quintessential pretty boy, the kind of guy female fans adore. His clothing also adds to his appeal. It's a completely new style of dress, characterized by wide on top, narrow on the bottom, the top must be oversized, and the pants must be skinny. Ryan isn't very familiar with the term trendy, but he's heard of the recently popular Bape brand. It's a streetwear brand that sells at luxury prices and uses scarcity marketing. Kanye West also collaborated with a brand to launch sneakers, and Pharrell Williams partnered with Tomoki Nagao, the head of the Easy Ape, to launch 2 sub-brands targeting the North American market. Recently, some magazines have collectively referred to this style as high streetwear, a style first coined by designer Raf Simons in 2001. Ryan was indifferent to trends, but he was very interested in making money. Luxury goods were undeniably lucrative, and he already had ready-made collaborators. Oz's 2 older sisters, weren't they professionals in this field? Enough already. Daddario brushed Ryan's hand away, her face flushed. Ryan tapped the turntable, and Daddario, receiving the instruction, began throat singing. Although she wasn't a singer, she understood musical notation, and so on. It was, after all, a transitional piece. As a DJ, Ryan had to utilize his advanced DJing skills. A few minutes later, Daddario looked up and saw a picture of Taylor Swift on the cabinet. Seeing Taylor smiling at her in the photo, she reached out and tucked the picture down. Then, not satisfied, she picked up the frame and placed it next to her. Let her look at it properly, Daddario smirked. The next morning, Daddario was startled awake by a knock at the door. She immediately shook Ryan beside her. "Who's knocking?" Daddario asked, flustered. "Who knows? Ignore it," Ryan said, frowning slightly. The next second, she heard the door open. "Shit," Daddario exclaimed. Only 3 people had a key to this house: Ryan, Taylor Swift, and herself. I didn't sleep well last night. All I heard last night was the sound of trucks. Sorry for the late update. Chapter 117. She has changed. Erica, you're here so early. Ryan's voice came from outside. Taylor told me to make you breakfast and watch you eat it. It's good for your stomach, Erica replied from outside. Daddario's ear was pressed against the door, his expression as guilty as a thief. He hadn't expected Taylor to give Erica his key. She wouldn't have done that unless to catch him cheating. It's okay, I can do it myself. This isn't your business. You can arrange for Joel and Dead Rat to meet up. We need to work on a new song today. Okay, sir. But Taylor also told me to make sure you finish eating, then go ahead and do it. Ryan was speechless. A few seconds later, the door was pushed open, and in that instant, Daddario hid in the corner behind the door. What do I do? Daddario whispered. Ryan shoved the clothes on the floor into her arms. Do you have a fear of heights? Yes. Daddario's face turned pale. At the dinner table, Ryan watched Erica smiling at him from beside him. He'd barely touched his breakfast when Erica went to the balcony, took in the laundry that had been hanging out to dry, and then carried it straight into her room. It would be a lie to say he wasn't worried. A while later, he heard Erica cleaning the room, and she came out a few minutes later. Go to the nightclub and get me some things. I need them for music production this afternoon. Can Daddario go? Taylor told me to stay with you, Erica said. She doesn't know where the things are, and she's clumsy. If she breaks something, there won't be a replacement. You go. Erica nodded, finally freed by Ryan. Ryan immediately rushed into the bedroom and saw Daddario climbing down from the closet. She'd been hiding there. 10 a.m., Philadelphia. Taylor stood in the vast stadium, wearing a dark blue jacket, the home color of the Philadelphia Phillies. Born in a small town not far from Philadelphia, she moved to Nashville in her teens, making this a kind of homecoming. She held a custom Swarovski guitar, adorned with over 3,000 hand-set crystals. Taylor adored this guitar, carrying it to award ceremonies and tours for several years, and it was later inducted into the Country Music Hall of Fame. Swarovski became Taylor's most frequent collaborator. From custom Kirby outfits for concerts to award ceremony gowns, Taylor had a particular fondness for sparkly elements. Taylor was the opening act for the World Series Classic, having confirmed her attendance 6 months in advance. Little did she know, so many reporters would be there. Just a few meters away, reporters from over a dozen entertainment media outlets were snapping away with their cameras. These weren't sports reporters, they were entertainment journalists. Taylor and Ryan had made headlines recently, and today was Taylor's first public appearance since. As expected, she was surrounded by people after the performance. Taylor, did you intentionally turn on the camera, or was it an accident? A female reporter asked, handing her a microphone. Taylor frowned and immediately blurted out, of course it was an accident. Why would I intentionally turn on the camera? The reporter nodded immediately. So, you were indeed with Ryan at the time, and you two were in front of the computer, right? The question was a trap, and the inexperienced Taylor directly admitted that she was present. No. She stammered, her prepared response completely disrupted. Then she saw the smiles on the faces of the surrounding reporters, wondering how tomorrow's news would portray her. Taylor could even imagine what the tabloids would use, like intense battle or a raging fire. A surge of anger rose within Taylor as she glared at the female reporter. So what if I have? Haven't you done it with your boyfriend? Or do you consider yourself more innocent than me? Taylor had mostly appeared on camera as a well-behaved girl, rarely showing any outbursts, like when the microphone was snatched from her the following year. Her later, more assertive retorts were years later. But now, having just faced Daddario, it seemed as if some kind of shackle had been prematurely removed from her. Can't I have a normal life? Or is that all you care about? Taylor sneered. Caught off guard, the reporter panicked for a moment. Other reporters seized the opportunity to inquire about Taylor's new album. Today is the release date of your second single's music video and the official announcement of your new album Fearless. Did you and Ryan orchestrate this leak for promotional purposes? Taylor frowned. I already said it was an accident. Besides, I don't need to promote my new album this way right now. Taylor then picked up her guitar and turned to leave, not giving the reporters a chance to ask further questions. Her current manager, Rick Barter, immediately approached Taylor. His famous quote, "To sell 500,000 albums, you have to meet 500,000 people," was a prime example. Taylor's mother also followed. You were a bit impulsive. You should have answered more questions, Taylor's mother said. Forget it. Am I just going to stand there and listen to them ridicule Ryan and me? From now on, cancel all these large-scale press interviews. I don't need this exposure. Instead, increase the frequency of meeting with fans. Taylor made some changes to her future promotional plans. This was the first time she directly rejected her mother's idea. But her manager, Rick, hesitated. I said, cancel it all. Taylor decided that with Ryan not around, she had to make her own decisions and couldn't let the media control her anymore. Also, if any media outlet adds fuel to the fire with their reports, have the lawyers follow up. No settlements, Taylor added. Give me the phone, Taylor held out to her mother. Taking the phone, Taylor immediately called Erica. How? Any findings? She walked a short distance away and talked to Erica for several minutes. Evening, Florida. No, absolutely no. Ryan shook his head. Joel put down the can. Indian snake charmers play this instrument. I need a sharper sound. Ryan, you've tried over 20 instruments. Deadmau5 frowned slightly. This afternoon, Joel and Deadmau5 had been called over by Ryan to discuss the production of the new song. The other tracks, except for the vocals, were basically finished, only the sharp instrument playing in the chorus was missing. Ryan had even tried the suona, but of course, that didn't work either. Joel's playing of the Dickon flute was the closest to the sound in Ryan's mind, but it was still somewhat off. What are you guys doing? At that moment, Deborah walked into the makeshift office, looking at the pile of instruments on the floor with curiosity. You've come at the right time, Ryan explained, revealing their current predicament. After all, Deborah was the original composer of the song and might offer some unique insights. That's simple. Just add some effects to the Dickon flute's sound, right? Deborah spread his hands, offering a solution. Not just the timbre, but also the details of the transitions. The Dickon flute simply can't imitate that. Wait a minute, Ryan suddenly paused. Is it possible that this isn't even an instrument at all? Ryan suddenly said. Then what could it be? The three looked at Ryan in unison. Ryan then directly turned on the computer and began experimenting. Chapter 118. The door was blocked. You're probably referring to pitch shifting, Deadmau5 said tentatively after hearing Ryan's description. He instructed Ryan to download a software tool called Melodies, which included pitch shifting functionality. After a brief trial, Ryan immediately confirmed that he was on the right track, only the original song had more sound effects added. Simply put, the sound resembling a wind instrument in the original song wasn't an instrument at all. It was achieved by raising Justin's voice several octaves through pitch shifting to create a distortion effect, and then adding various sound effects to achieve this unique sound. Over the next few days, through continuous experimentation, the sound became increasingly similar to the one in his mind. Several DJs, initially skeptical, gradually became astonished, declaring that Ryan had once again led the trend. The development of music is the development of sound effects. Why did rock music, once so popular, disappear? Because the sound of the electric guitar, which sounded high-tech at the time, became tiresome after decades of exposure. Similarly, when people find a song tacky, it's essentially because they've heard that sound effect countless times. Only by constantly creating new and appealing sound effects can a music genre remain competitive in the pop music scene. This fundamentally explains the popularity of electronic music, as advancements in music software and headphone technology have given people access to more unique sound effects. 4 days later. Almost done, Ryan turned off the sound effects software. The original version of Where Are You Now was almost finished, all that remained was some finishing touches. The music video also needed to be prepared, including costumes and dance sequences. The MV required a large number of chalk drawings, at least over 1,000, but this wouldn't be difficult for Ryan, given his current close proximity to his fans. Every night, the forum would buzz with discussions about Ryan's abilities, and a few people would post photos of him in the photography section, tagging him in the comments. Led by 5,854 Chicken Sister, the number of PUBG fans on the forum was steadily increasing. Ryan, to all my 18-year-old female fans, I'm preparing a brand new single and need a lot of chalk drawings. Feel free to unleash your creativity. Post your finished works on the forum, and selected pieces will be rewarded. Pinned announcement, 5,854, Ryan, I missed you so much, crying, 4,982, chalk drawings? I'm an art major, I work at the Metropolitan Museum of Art. Where do I submit? 22,222. Can my daughter draw this? She loves drawing this. 17. Elena, Ryan has a new song? But I have to prepare for Spring-Autumn Fashion Week, so I can't make a cameo appearance this time. 18. Dia Dario, I need to go to the bathroom in about half an hour. 15. Tall girl, you guys all made cameo appearances in Ryan's music videos? Why don't I? 167 hours, and 18 minutes. What are you talking about? A robot? Or are you trying to pass a message to someone here? 4,444, at Ryan, why does everyone have a short ID? Mine is so long. 167, who are you? 4,444, I'm afraid I'll scare you if I tell you. Paris Benpa, 167, who are you trying to scare? You don't even have a short number, didn't you buy it on eBay? 4,444, at Ryan, I don't care, you have to give me one, or I'll make a scene. Ryan ignored her. At this moment, the replies in the chat room became incredibly fast. The big news from before had sparked heated discussions among the forum members. Several chat rooms were filled with people chatting 24/7. Even some of Ryan's real-life acquaintances started speaking frequently, not to mention those like Chicken Sister who were online 24/7. Ryan had been keeping an eye on the forum these past few days, noticing which people were most active. He immediately sent private messages to 5,854, Chicken Girl, 22,222, Little Boss, and 167, Detective Girl, asking these highly active users to help him filter artwork starting today. 5,854, I can help you, but could you send me just one picture? Ryan, chicken picture. 5,854, not this kind of chicken, but that kind. 22,222, I can't be online all day, but I'll help you filter. 167, really, anxious, Ryan, of course. 167, okay, then you have to tell me who number 18 is. Never mind, I'll guess myself, that's more interesting. Switching back to the chat room, the style suddenly changed, with a uniform. Taylor number 1, 12. Now only Britney is left. Once you get over this mountain, you can reach the top of Billboard. 15, they're practically the most talked about couple in America right now. 18, correction, they're a couple. 4,444, at Ryan. 14, Taylor is the best. Ryan, nice. 12, where's Taylor? Want to chat? 18, she's busy in Pennsylvania and can't come back for now. Ryan knew about this. His assistant had informed him that Taylor was sick yesterday and had to rest at her hotel today. His assistant was keeping watch outside her room all day. The reason everyone was celebrating in the group chat was naturally because the latest Billboard chart had been released. Ryan opened the website and was astonished to find that Britney Spears' latest single, Womanizer, had jumped directly from 96 to number 1 on the Hot 100 chart this week, with Britney delivering the most daring performance of her career in the music video, appearing completely naked. Taylor Swift's You Belong to Me also debuted at number 2 this week. Third is Tiffany's Whatever You Like, and fourth is Live Your Life, a duet by Tiffany and Rihanna, which is the original song of the popular hit I'm Not Afraid. Fifth is Pink So What, sixth is Ryan Reynolds' Wake Me Up, and seventh is Katy Perry's new song Hot and Cold. Taylor Swift's previous single, Love Story, is currently still at number 15. Actually, Taylor Swift didn't get her first number 1 Hot 100 single until 2012 with We Are Never Ever Getting Back Together, 5 or 6 years after her first appearance on Billboard. During this period, Taylor had several major singles, but each time, they often clashed with other popular singles, preventing her from reaching number 1. It seems quite unlucky, which is one of the original origins of her nickname Tay-Tay. The situation is different now. Aside from Britney Spears' new song, the top 10 on the Hot 100 are all old hits. At the current rate, Taylor Swift is very likely to top the singles chart, barring any unforeseen circumstances. Ryan checked the time and called Taylor. After ringing a few times, it went straight to voicemail. Asleep? Ryan didn't think much of it and went to the restroom at the end of the corridor in his record company. The entire corridor was still unfinished. Ryan coughed twice at the door, and someone came out. It was Daddario. The two didn't exchange a word. Daddario walked ahead, and Ryan followed. They tacitly entered a storage room. The corridor remained empty throughout. At the same time, the security personnel at the back door saw a fully armed blonde woman. "Miss, you need to go through the front door. This is the internal staff passage." The security personnel curiously sized up the woman's figure. Apart from being tall, there was nothing particularly striking about her. The woman didn't say anything but went to the side and made a phone call. A short while later, Erica came down to meet her. "This is the boss's friend, you know, he does some things rather discreetly," Erica hinted. The security guards exchanged glances, then made way, completely unaware of who they were letting in. She immediately removed her disguise upon entering, revealing herself to be the sick Taylor Swift. Her supposed illness was merely an excuse to lull Ryan into a false sense of security. She had flown from Pennsylvania to Florida in a single day just to confront Ryan. Erica had visited Ryan's bedroom a few days earlier and noticed several details, such as a large amount of used tissues and some furnishings that had been disturbed. Combined with D'Addario's inexplicable comments in the chat room these past few days, the truth was obvious. Taylor and Erica barged into Ryan's office, finding it empty and the computer still on. Taylor immediately dialed Ryan's cell phone. "Where are you, darling?" Taylor asked with a smile after the call connected. "Thank you for your votes. There will be an extra chapter the day after tomorrow. One extra chapter will be added for every 100 monthly votes accumulated thereafter. Chapter 119. You really know how to jump around." Ryan immediately covered D'Addario's mouth to stop her from making a sound. "Are you in the office?" Taylor asked again. "I'm downstairs." Ryan had a sudden idea. "Downstairs? I didn't see you when I came up. The employees all said you were upstairs working on a new song. Where did you go?" Taylor lowered her voice. "Why are you here?" Ryan smiled. At the same time, he started shoving D'Addario, pushing her towards the window. It was a full 4 stories high. Jumping from there would at least break her legs, and at worst, paralyze her. Before Taylor could respond, Ryan immediately said, "I'm coming up right now." Then he hung up the phone. "Why is she here?" D'Addario's voice trembled slightly. Ryan quickly put on his pants and hastily threw on a shirt. "You stay here quietly. I'll text you before you go out." Ryan didn't have time to say more. He leaned out, looked downstairs, and then took a deep breath. Then, with a leap, he jumped onto the air conditioner unit on the next floor, almost slipping off. He clung tightly to the wall to steady himself, then jumped again, landing on the second-floor air conditioner unit, and with another big leap, landed safely on the ground. D'Addario, peering out from upstairs, was stunned. "You actually jumped." At the same time, D'Addario heard footsteps outside the door. There was no renovation going on here, and hardly anyone came. Considering Ryan's reaction, there was only one explanation. D'Addario quickly grabbed his clothes from the rack and began dressing rapidly. At the same moment, Ryan entered the nightclub through the back door and encountered the same 2 guards again. "Do you know what to say?" Ryan asked while buttoning his shirt. The 2 guards immediately made way for him, then nodded quickly. "We didn't see anything." Taylor stood in the men's restroom, watching Erica knock on each stall door. "Ryan isn't in the restroom. Where did he go?" Taylor frowned. As the 2 left the restroom and passed the storage room, Taylor suddenly stopped. Seeing Taylor's signal, Erica immediately reached for the handle, only to find the door locked. "Come out, I know you're in there," Taylor said coldly. There was no response from inside. "Go find the key," Taylor whispered. Erica turned around, then suddenly stopped. "My office is over here." Ryan's voice came from the other end of the corridor. Taylor turned and saw Ryan carrying a Roland JP synthesizer, seemingly having just come up. "Come help me," Ryan gestured to Erica. Taylor frowned slightly, turned, and followed Ryan into his office. Ryan had just put down the equipment when he turned and hugged Taylor. "Weren't you sick? I didn't expect such a big surprise." "How did you get here?" "By plane. It was quick." Taylor's lips were suddenly kissed, feeling the heat emanating from Ryan's body. "No work tomorrow? Or do you want to rest a few more days?" Ryan asked casually, putting his arm around Taylor's waist and leading her to the computer to show her his new song. "You're sweating." Taylor casually pulled out 2 tissues and wiped Ryan's sweat, then checked his collar, finding no other woman's scent. "I have to rush back early tomorrow morning. Just in Philadelphia, I have to go to several stores and meet up with fans," Taylor continued. "Since you're here all day, I'll skip work and spend this time with you," Ryan said, squeezing Taylor's hand. "You have so much stuff here. I'll have Erica put it in the storage room." Taylor said, reaching out instead of agreeing. What for? The keys. Give them to me, Taylor said. Ryan opened a drawer and handed the keys to Erica, who then carried the clutter from the floor to the storage room in batches. As she closed the door for the last time, a head peeked out from the deepest part of the storage shelf. It was Diodario. After a quick tidy-up, Ryan, Taylor, and Erica left the nightclub and headed straight for a high-end shopping mall in Miami. Ryan was very generous, taking Taylor into the Hermes store. He originally thought that buying a cheap bag would cost at most 5 figures, but this damn Hermes required you to buy other items first. To buy a bag, you had to buy a bunch of useless stuff first. It was only because the store recognized her as a celebrity that they reduced the number of items you needed to buy, but even so, Ryan felt a pang of pain, though he didn't show it. Carrying the legendary Kelly bag, Taylor finally had a smile on her face. They say a bag can cure all ills. It's like a luxury car in a man's heart. Besides designer bags, there were also miscellaneous clothes and shoes. Taylor looked very beautiful in Jimmy Joe's black shoes. Because they were too high and she found them uncomfortable, she didn't actually wear high heels much in private. So you like this feeling? Taylor took a few steps in front of the mirror. Her legs were already long, and with the high heels, they were naturally made to look like goddess legs. Ryan sat next to her, admiring her edible grade long legs with great interest. To be honest, Taylor's aura in high heels was no less than that of a model. Her skin was white, her hair long and straight. She could rock that look forever. It wasn't until they left the mall that Ryan remembered Dario was still lurking in the storage room, so he texted her. By then, a large number of paparazzi had gathered outside the store. Photos of Ryan and Taylor could now fetch thousands of dollars, making them highly sought after in the paparazzi market. Ryan and Taylor quickly reached the parking lot, where Erica had already driven out the car. They got into the Navigator and sped away. Drive around the city a few more times, shake off these tagalongs, Ryan instructed. They then made a reservation at Miami's most luxurious Italian restaurant. Inside the quiet private room, candlelight cast a warm glow, making Taylor's face appear even more radiant and beautiful. Why are you being so nice to me today? Did you do something wrong and are you trying to make it up to me? Taylor asked, seemingly jokingly. Since you don't like it, then we won't go out to eat anymore, and I won't buy you anything, Ryan shrugged. I don't dislike it at all, Taylor quickly shook her head. But you don't trust me, Taylor. You haven't changed. You said you wouldn't plant anyone around me, but look at what you've done now. You just flew over, Ryan frowned slightly. I just feel like no one else can take good care of you, Taylor quickly explained. Take care of you or spy on you? Coming to my house every morning? Even rummaging through my trash? You don't think I don't know, do you? I'm feeling a bit suffocated, to put it bluntly. This is a psychological problem, it needs treatment. Ryan started to escalate the issue. I don't, Taylor muttered, but her tone was noticeably less firm than before. I understand you're under a lot of pressure, but this isn't a normal way to relieve stress. How about this? I'll schedule an appointment with a psychologist to talk to you. It's nothing, just a simple chat, Ryan continued. I'm just a little insecure, and you've been getting too close to Dario, Taylor said hesitantly. Okay, I'll fire Dario directly, but you have to go see a psychologist, Ryan said. If she actually went to a psychologist, even if she wasn't sick, they'd probably concoct some inexplicable personality disorder. As for Dario, she was too conspicuous around him, she'd be exposed sooner or later. To be on the safe side, it was best to cut off all overt contact. Alright, let Dario stay. I don't want to bother you, Taylor thought for a moment. Dario still had to help Ryan with his affairs, and she didn't want to create obstacles for him. If it can help you think less overthinking, I don't mind being a little busy, Ryan said slowly. Taylor couldn't persuade Ryan otherwise and finally nodded. Ryan, I'm sorry, Taylor said softly, apologizing. The last sentence appears to be unrelated and possibly a fragment from another context. Legged photo review, usually it can be released. Chapter 120, the strongest female country music singer on record. You've bought so much for Taylor, and you haven't bought me a single thing, Dario muttered under the office desk. Ryan was still busy with the final touches on the new song production and completely ignored her. You don't love me at all, Dario scoffed, continuing to eat her hot dog. A vacuum cleaner started up in the room, but it made a loud whirring sound, unlike a regular vacuum cleaner. After Taylor left this time, she took Erica with her, and Ryan was now completely free, no longer needing to sneak around. All done, Ryan braced his hands on the table. At this moment, the production of the new song was completely finished. Cough cough, Diodario's temporary work was also finished, and he coughed violently. It feels so bad. Diodario blew his nose was red, and tears welled up in his eyes. If the food he ate was too spicy or sour, he would choke and cry. Ryan opened a drawer. When he went to Hermes to buy a bag, he was asked to get a bunch of useless trinkets, which were now being put to good use by Diodario. These are all unwanted junk items. Putting the Hermes logo on them doesn't really change anything, Diodario said dismissively. She wanted the bag. Never mind, Ryan said, putting the things away again. I want them. Why not? Give them to me. Diodario snatched the trinkets back, putting them in her bag to take home later. Can I not come here anymore? Diodario hesitated, touching her Hermes scarf. Try to come as little as possible. Even if you do come, be fully disguised so no one recognizes you. Ryan sent the master tape to the record company staff. Next came a series of preparations, including cover photography, music video shooting, and then the official release. Who's in the music video? Diodario asked tentatively. There's no female lead in this music video. Ryan shook her head. Then forget it, Diodario pondered. I suddenly think, it's nice to be by your side, but Ryan didn't want her to stay by his side forever. What happened with your audition for the Vampire Diaries? Ryan suddenly asked. What else could it be? She got eliminated. Apparently, they've already cast someone else for the lead role, 19-year-old Nina Dobrev, Diodario tried to say. She's not very famous, Ryan tried to say. It was just a copycat project. They couldn't afford any big names, Diodario continued. Ryan nodded, seemingly having made a plan. What are you planning? Diodario was taken aback. I think you're more suitable for this series than Nina Dobrev. Ryan reached out and stroked her hair. Vampire dramas are all the rage, and HBO has already launched a similar series called True Blood, which has decent ratings. Ryan felt this was an opportunity. But the two producers said I'm not suitable for a series with a primarily female audience. They think I should go into horror movies, Diodario tried to say. Horror movies are mostly watched by male audiences, and Diodario's pair of large, white rabbits clearly appeal more to male viewers. In contrast, female viewers actually prefer the image of a delicate, fragile woman, like Kristen Stewart from Twilight. At least that's how she currently appears. Nina Dobrev also falls into this slender category. So, do you want to act in it? Ryan asked. Of course I do, Diodario said honestly. Maybe the producers will reject you, but they won't refuse to invest, Ryan tried to say. The risks of television series are mainly borne by the production company. The television station participates in the project approval and provides broadcast fees, but these fees don't completely cover the production costs. The production company bears the cost shortfall. Like movies, it's high risk, high reward. Some hit series can earn hundreds of millions of dollars over several years. For example, the sitcom Seinfeld from the 1990s has accumulated over $2 billion in copyright revenue to date, far exceeding the broadcast licensing fees paid by NBC. The same series, Seinfeld, saw its writer, Larry David, who profited from it, rank second on Forbes' 1998 list of highest-paid entertainers, surpassing Spielberg and Oprah. The profits were considerable. Moreover, TV series are filmed and broadcast simultaneously, so even if they were cancelled, the losses wouldn't be huge. However, there are advantages and disadvantages. The core of a TV series is the writer, the most crucial position, who usually also serves as a producer, or at the very least, a supervisor, directly participating in the profit sharing. Therefore, even if it made money, Ryan's investment profit wouldn't be very high. Where did you get the money? Diodario asked. Although investing in TV series isn't as expensive as investing in movies, it still involves investments of millions of dollars. Actually, Ryan still had some profit left from his previous investments, but he certainly wouldn't use that money. Taylor's new album sold 592,000 copies in its first week. So I have a lot more working capital, Ryan said. Last year, Miley Cyrus's album sold over 350,000 copies in its first week. Taylor Swift's first week sales nearly doubled that, unsurprisingly topping the Billboard 200 album chart. This is the highest first-week sales since the Eagles' Long Road Out of Eden sold 711,000 copies in 2007. According to Nielsen SoundScan statistics, only 5 people in the entire country music genre have sold more albums in their first week than Taylor Swift, Garth Brooks, Shania Twain, Dixie Cheeks, Tim McGraw, and Rascal Flatts. All of them are men. If we limit the scope to women, Taylor Swift is the most successful female country singer since records began in 1991. This doesn't even include the 129,000 first-week online album downloads Taylor Swift had. Since statistics began, only Coldplay, Ryan's EP, Jack Johnson, and Kanye West's Graduation have surpassed it. In terms of gross profit, the average selling price of physical albums is $12.99, and digital albums average $9.99, easily exceeding $5 million in gross profit. Note that this is just first-week sales. Based on full-year sales projections, Ryan only needs a little over a year to recoup his investment. He remembered Scott's regretful tone when reporting Taylor's results. Clearly, the price of the large-format printers sold to Ryan was too low, allowing the latter to get a huge bargain. However, in Scott's eyes, Ryan was also taking a risk. If Taylor's new album flopped, Ryan would lose everything. Scott accepted his defeat wholeheartedly. Such high sales, D'Addario's jaw dropped. Although her relationship with Taylor was structurally flawed, she had to admit that Taylor had accomplished a feat. I remember country music albums don't usually have high first-week sales. The advantage is a smoother sales curve, without a sharp drop, D'Addario said instinctively. That's what makes Taylor different. She has a huge and passionate female fan base, Ryan tried to explain. Many girls felt this album perfectly captured the feelings of a teenage girl: friendship, love, family, failure, success, and struggle. All these elements could be found in Fearless, with the title track serving as the perfect finishing touch. Taylor was also the one who directly inspired Ryan to pursue a teen idol style. From a musical career perspective, Ryan and Taylor had mutually benefited each other. Now, all that was left was for them to meet at the top. But it feels really strange to have Taylor's money invested in me, D'Addario smiled, then proactively made connections for Ryan, arranging a meeting on her behalf with the two drama producers. They were initially reluctant, but upon hearing that Ryan wanted to see them, they didn't refuse. Previously, she had deliberately kept Taylor's photo in front of her, which, in a sense, showed a twisted mentality caused by jealousy. Compared to Taylor, she was more suited to seeing a psychologist. So, do you still want to compete with her? Ryan began to twist again, out of professional habit. What am I supposed to compete with her for? Do you think I can even compete with her? You're about to send me to Los Angeles, and I just hope you can spare a little of your love for me then. She hugged Ryan tightly. I need your love too. A bombshell hit Ryan in the face. He felt a little suffocated, but his mind started racing with familiar voices, a wave of déjà vu washing over him. I need your love. I need your time. When everything's wrong, you make it right. I feel so high, I come alive. I need to be free with you tonight. I need your love. The data comes from a Billboard report from 2008. The original text didn't mention the strongest female country singer in history. The browser translation resulted in many awkward phrasings, which I filled in, leading to this blunder. But that's a minor issue. The album's sales figures are accurate. Chapter 121. He could have just robbed people, but he still wanted to benefit his fans. It hadn't been long since Ryan had gotten a new song through Déjà Vu, and what surprised him even more was that this pop dance track, I Need You Love, featured two familiar faces, Kevin Harris and Ellie Goulding. The single's cover featured the two kissing in the sunlight, and they co-wrote the lyrics and music. The music video was practically a couple's vlog. Male and female singers don't necessarily have to kiss when collaborating. This song seemed to be their love-defining creation. It was practically tailor-made for him and Taylor, and he believed this love-filled love song would spread widely thanks to their relationship. However, Ryan wasn't in a hurry. Taylor's single You Belong to Me was gaining momentum, and his new song Where Are You Now was poised for release. Releasing another single in such a short time would seem wasteful. Meanwhile, D'Addario, who was practically swooping in, suddenly noticed Ryan had stopped moving and, thinking something was wrong, immediately moved away. Ryan patted her on the shoulder, and she immediately understood his intention, then turned around. As night fell, the nightclub began to bustle with activity. However, Ryan wasn't planning to perform tonight. Firstly, David Guetta was performing, and secondly, Ryan needed to prepare for his new song. The dance and the music video and the unique fashion style were pressing issues. Knock, knock, knock. Ryan heard a knock at the door. Come in. Ryan put down his phone. Several alluring, young, and beautiful women entered, about 8 or 9 in total. Their figures weren't bad, and while some were quite striking in appearance, others were less so. However, their heavy makeup and sexy mini-skirts ensured they would turn heads wherever they went. You all have dance backgrounds. Ryan glanced at them, noting their diverse appearances, like a merchant selecting concubines. This wasn't Ryan's office, but a rather secluded room. The furnishings were simple, a stereo system, a large mirror, and a large red sofa. This IKEA sofa was large and wide enough to recline, very soft, and made of easy-to-clean faux leather. Clearly, it was an audition sofa. The history of audition sofas dates back nearly a century, to a time when Hollywood operated under a studio system. Studios handled all aspects of film production, distribution, and release, and actors signed long-term contracts, essentially becoming their exclusive employees. This gave studio managers control over actors' careers. However, acting was a high-risk, high-reward profession, and casting was inherently difficult to fully assess. This high uncertainty, coupled with the power dynamics, led actors to resort to other means to secure roles. In 1924, a film titled The Audition Sofa was released, depicting the intimate moments between a casting director and an actress, a rather sensational scene for its time, and it popularized the term. From a legal perspective, while this is illegal, there are few precedents, and actors usually choose to settle privately because they care about their reputation. However, the situation is completely different with Matthew. As for the people in front of him, they are all members of the Atmosphere team in nightclubs. This is only because Ryan limited the selection criteria, otherwise, there would have been far more than 7 or 8 of them. Ryan asked them to demonstrate their dance moves one by one. Low Miami bass music was playing in the room. Even if the lyrics were there, this kind of music was full of innuendo, and it was widely used in certain clubs. At this moment, 2 women were leaning their bodies to the rhythm, intentionally getting closer to Ryan, and occasionally grabbing Ryan's hands and letting them roam over their bodies. That's enough, that's enough. Seeing that they were about to start taking off their clothes, Ryan stopped them. Besides this kind of dance, can you dance anything else? I mean, the more normal kind of dance, Ryan tried to ask. The girls' so-called dance skills were all this kind of box dance. You mean this kind? The 2 turned their backs to Ryan and started frantically watching Douyin, TikTok. Ryan thought that only choreographers who actually worked with celebrities could meet his requirements. As for the current batch of auditions, he could consider recruiting them as backup dancers. Ryan directly entrusted Marvin to help him find a reliable choreographer. The performance team included a live band playing instruments and backup dancers. These were all tied to the celebrity and toured with him, forming an important part of the stage. You can perform with me as backup dancers, but these spots are limited, Ryan said calmly. The 2 dancers exchanged a glance, then approached Ryan with smiles. Being chosen by a big star like Ryan was a dream start for them. Ryan shook his head, not letting them take any further action. He would be upgrading his image to match the new song, so he needed to put his fitness routine back on the agenda these few days. He had neglected his exercise before and often spent time with women, so he had lost a lot of weight and definitely needed to sharpen his skills. He left work early and spent several hours sweating it out at a high-end gym in Orlando. He even met a local female fitness instructor, mainly because after seeing her curvaceous figure accentuated by yoga pants, Ryan figured she was probably quite professional. She asked about Ryan's fitness goals and created a personalized workout plan for him. When he left, Ryan casually topped up his account with several $1,000s. The instructor grinned from ear to ear and even put her arm around Ryan's arm. The value of being a top donor speaks for itself. Back home, Ryan posted some photos of his workout on MySpace and his dedicated fan forum. Some photos wouldn't post on MySpace, so he posted them directly on his fan forum, treating them to something nice. Sure enough, this resulted in a flood of lustful emojis. 22,222. I'm going to use this photo as my phone wallpaper. 167. Slurp. 5,854. More spellcasting materials. 15 Tall girl. It really is a paid forum. 4,444 Paris. @Ryan. I need the shortcode ID. If you don't give it to me, I'll keep refreshing. 13 Taylor, smirking, you went to the gym? Honey. 12, why did you think of posting this so late at night? 16 Alison, yeah, can't a person get any sleep? Smirking. 17 Alana, after drying off, so, nothing special. 3, thumbs up, I just transferred another $50,000 to the PayPal account I gave you today. Ryan, thank you so much, he replied quickly. 3, it's also to provide some benefits for everyone. 22,222, I also transferred $500, 4,444 Paris. Ryan could just rob people, but he still wants to benefit his fans. I'm so touched, crying. This is a brand new feature Veronica launched on the forum. A fundraising button has been added to the top of the main page. The funds raised will be used to create small gifts in bulk and send them to fans in the forum. Donations over $50 will be publicly displayed, and there are even donation rankings, weekly, monthly, and overall, just like live stream donations. Currently, 3 firmly holds the top spot. This businesswoman is indeed not short of money. 5,555, ranked second, has never spoken, but donated $3,000, clearly indicating wealth. As for smaller donations, there are even more. Ryan checked the back end. This feature had only been online for a day and had already garnered over $80,000. No wonder Paris made the following remarks. The forum is still very basic, and at Ryan's request, Veronica is working hard to add more new features. Ryan switched to the submission page and privately messaged 5,854, 22,222, and 167. In just a few days, the collection of chalk drawings was already nearly complete, much to Ryan's surprise. Ryan could feel the fervor of these core fans and decided to launch a new activity. Ryan, announcement, in light of everyone's enthusiasm, I've decided to launch a hottest girl contest. This contest is ongoing and uses a hot or not selection rule. The public will vote, and those scoring over 9 points will receive a cash prize. How to participate is: Hot or Not is a rating website where a user chooses the hotter photo from 2 options. With enough samples, each photo receives a rating. Facebook's predecessor, Fasamash, used this rating system to select university beauties, which helped it gain initial popularity. Since his fans were so supportive, it was time to practice what he preaches and show some warmth to his attractive fans. Finally, Ryan sent a private message to the 16-year-old girl. Ryan, I want to see your twin sister. I have something important to discuss. Chapter 122 Stray. Ryan stood before the enormous floor-to-ceiling windows, overlooking Central Park in Manhattan. From this vantage point, he could see most of New York City, and even the ever-present, annoying noise of the city seemed to vanish. He was currently in the famous Skyline Apartments. These were several high-rise apartment buildings on the edge of Central Park, with apartments ranging in size from tens to hundreds of square meters. On the top floor, however, were duplex penthouses of over 600 square meters. Billionaires weren't even a factor here. According to Alison, her 2 older sisters were actually the poorest among the neighbors. They'll be here soon, Ryan heard Alson's voice behind him. Turning around, he saw Alson standing in the spacious living room, or rather, the hall. The ceiling height here is 2 to 3 times that of a typical residence, and the area is vast, offering a completely different experience. Not to mention the decorations in the lobby, a waterfall of artificial crystal cascading down the stairs, life-sized art pieces, contemporary abstract paintings hanging on the walls, and various understated yet luxurious pieces of furniture that Ryan couldn't even name. Ryan had truly had his eyes open today. Compared to real millionaires, he felt he wasn't even a nouveau riche. If he hadn't seen it with his own eyes, Ryan would have found it hard to connect Alson with all this. He'd been to Alson's bedroom. It was very ordinary. I only stay here occasionally, Alson shook her head. She had helped Ryan before and even worked for him, but they had fallen out. Later, they reconnected, and the lawyer her sister had introduced to Ryan handled a scandal Scout had exposed. Just then, the elevator doors opened. The 2 women walked directly into the room, casually tossing their handbags on the table. An elderly Mexican maid stepped forward to help them take off their coats. You must be Ryan? Welcome, Ashley Alson greeted them. Ryan had already done his research. The one with the longer hair was Mary Kate Alson. Ryan exchanged cheek kisses with both twins. I heard from Alson that you want to start your own fashion brand. Ashley Olsen asked, gesturing for Ryan to sit down. Not a fashion brand, but a fashion line, Ryan replied. He simply found the outfits from the music video in his mind, and the adult Justin Bieber's clothing quite unique and likely had market potential. The Olsen sisters were also deeply involved in this field, so he approached the younger sister. Do you have any design experience? Mary-Kate Olsen looked Ryan up and down. The answer was obvious. Ryan's clothes looked quite casual, lacking any celebrity aura. If you want to sell products, you first need to become a fashion icon yourself. You need to learn from Kanye West, Ashley Olsen said thoughtfully, resting her chin on her hand. The word icon directly means symbol or icon. People who are called icons are trendsetters in the fashion world. Their clothing often inspires imitation. For example, Ashley, standing before Ryan, recently favored some seemingly sloppy fashion items, ripped fishnet stockings, dirty sneakers, and her hair looked a bit greasy. This was described by some fashion editors as the homeless style. A few years later, this style was frequently used by a female singer, Cheer Up. It could be said that Cheer Up at that time completely copied Ashley Olsen. And the originator of this style was Kurt Cobain, the lead singer of Nirvana. Another typical example is Kanye West. Unlike traditional black rappers who came from the streets, his mother was a college professor, and he himself had an art background. He was the first black singer to wear Ralph Lauren's American preppy style, and his later work selling coconuts goes without saying. But for Ryan, fashion was like an abstract painting on the wall, extremely abstract. He neither understood it nor was interested in it, he was only there because he thought he could make money. So, like the power of discourse, fashion icons are those who have more power, Ryan tried to say. This was his own understanding. The two sisters exchanged a glance, and Mary-Kate Olsen nodded. You've got the crux of the matter. In the fashion world, who wields the most power? Naturally, it's Anna Wintour. The Devil Wears Prada from the movie. Even standing next to Queen Elizabeth II, she had to wear sunglasses to maintain her airs. She's the editor-in-chief of Vogue US. It's said that if she frowned even a few times while admiring a designer's work, that designer would likely lose their job. In short, she's incredibly sophisticated. Karlie Kloss was actually modeling for the Chinese version of Vogue, which is why she incorporated Chinese elements into her outfit, and the photoshoot in the stadium was to fit the Olympic theme. Okay, I'll try changing the styling and clothing style, Ryan nodded, preparing to copy Justin Bieber's look, dyeing her hair light blonde to become a true blonde. So, do you have any design elements in mind? Ashley asked. Of course, Ryan snapped her fingers at her assistant, who produced several sheets of paper. Ryan showed the papers to the sisters. The younger sister, Olsen, also came over, bursting into laughter after just one glance, then quickly covering her mouth. The papers were covered in scribbles, like elementary school art class sketches. The figures were barely human-like. Did you draw this? Olsen asked with a smile. Ryan nodded. It's a bit rough, but that's exactly what I had in mind. Besides the music video, he also got a lot of live performance versions of the song through Déjà Vu. In these versions, Justin wore several high-street outfits, and Ryan tried his best to depict these outfits on the paper. The Olsen sisters didn't laugh like their younger sister. At first, they only glanced at it briefly, but soon they sensed something and took the papers, examining each one carefully. In 2004, the sisters' film New York Time, which they invested in and starred in, received a Golden Raspberry Award nomination but was a box office flop. So, they quickly transitioned to the fashion industry. While their design skills weren't outstanding, they had at least won several design awards and could be considered professional designers. They immediately sensed the uniqueness in Ryan's unusually rough sketches. Did you come up with this yourself? Ashley looked up, her expression much more serious than before. 100%, Ryan nodded. We can talk about the specific details of the collaboration, Mary-Kate Olsen followed up. The jeans and light-colored tops line named after the sisters sells nearly $1 billion annually at Walmart, totaling $750 million in sales last year. The sisters later launched the high-fashion brand The Row, described as America's response to the era of Loro Piana and Phoebe Philor's Celine, sold in 37 countries worldwide. It's no wonder that Jay-Z and Kanye West's later collaboration, The Single Nigger in Paris, includes the lyrics, "In my opinion, Prince William chose the wrong woman. If it were me, I would have married both Mary-Kate and Ashley. Their business is vast, managing the entire process from design and production to distribution and sales. Ryan, as the brand spokesperson and founder, receives a share of the sales revenue. To differentiate it from the previous lines, we had to create a completely new name, Ashley said. How about stray? Ryan suddenly suggested. The word means deviation, getting lost, or straying. These days, being all righteous and high class is useless. You have to be unconventional to satisfy the target audience's need to show off. Besides, the word also subtly matches Ray's stage name. Sounds pretty good. Young people these days like this feeling of being alone, Ashley nodded. You could also capitalize the TR, Mary-Kate Olsen chimed in. Ryan thought it was a bit childish, but since someone brought it up, he didn't dismiss it. By the way, what exactly happened between you and Olsen? Mary-Kate Olsen abruptly changed the subject, turning the conversation to Ryan and Olsen. If you are listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means it was downloaded and re-uploaded without effort. We warmly invite you to visit our channel, Fanfic World. There you will find the original version of this story and many other novels of various genres. We look forward to seeing you dive into a world of incredible novels. Chapter 123 The Creator. Why are you two talking about this? Olsen panicked, jumping up from her armrest on the sofa. We have to talk about this, so you won't be bullied, Ashley said immediately. There's no point in cooperating if we don't clarify this, Mary-Kate said. So this was what they were waiting for. These two seemed determined to get justice for their sister. Ryan, however, remained calm, shrugging. It started on impulse, but ended with reason. Seeing the sisters remain silent, he went on to discuss more details. Stop. Stop, Olsen quickly interrupted, her face flushed red. Ashley glared at her. This is the gist of it. I didn't force anyone, Ryan said. Is what he said true? Ashley asked. I was drunk, Olsen whispered. You can't hold your liquor that badly, can you? Did he touch your bottle? Mary-Kate analyzed for her sister. I willingly did it with him, Olsen said with difficulty. It seems the version of events Elizabeth Olsen told earlier was different from the truth, leading to a misunderstanding between the sisters about Ryan. Now that the truth is out, it's all over. In that case, you'll be in charge of liaising between us and Ryan from now on. You'll still keep in touch with Ryan, right? Mary-Kate said. Huh? I can't handle that. Elizabeth Olsen immediately shook her head. What's so difficult about it? You didn't want to be an actress, so just get some experience, Ashley said casually. Ryan looked at the twins, wondering what they were up to. Were they trying to create opportunities for their sister? Instead of worrying about your sister, you should worry about yourselves. Are you married? Ryan sized them up, taking the initiative. In terms of looks, the twins aren't any less attractive than Elizabeth Olsen, but they both have slightly slanted eyes, giving them an imposing air when they look at people. This is probably related to their boss status. They're not only involved in clothing and fashion, but their twin Star Productions also manages the sisters' copyrights. This alone generates a considerable income every year. Their status as wealthy women wasn't something they were born with, it was earned step by step. It's still early, Ashley shook her head. Ryan only found out after asking that the Olsen twins were actually born in 1986, the same age as Daddario, who was even 3 months older than them. That's the power of a child star. After all these years, they were only in their early 20s. If Daddario hadn't met her, he'd probably still be playing bit parts somewhere. Do you have a boyfriend? Ryan looked at the two sisters with interest. They were identical twins, with the same voice, height, and hair color. If they wore the same hairstyle and clothes, it would be hard to tell them apart. They had played the same role when they first debuted. If they were in bed with the lights off, it would be even harder to tell them apart. Ashley glared at Ryan. It was just a casual question. Why are you so nervous? Or do all three sisters have the same taste? Ryan laughed. Shut up, the younger sister said, a little annoyed. Why was Ryan starting to speak rudely to her two older sisters? Perhaps sensing the awkwardness of their conversation, Ryan stood up, deciding the talk was over and preparing to leave. I'll see you out, Olsen said, standing up. Ashley watched her sister follow Ryan into the elevator, the doors closing behind them. She scoffed, finding Ryan quite audacious. She was indeed currently single, having broken up with Neil Armstrong last year. Meanwhile, Mary-Kate Olsen sighed, probably thinking of her ex-boyfriend Heath Ledger. Ledger had died in January of this year from prescription drug overdose. The Dark Knight became his swan song, his portrayal of the Joker deeply memorable. This superhero film, ranked among the top 3 on IMDb, also propelled director Christopher Nolan, later known as Director Nolan, to stardom. The driver started the car, heading north, eventually arriving at Harlem, a district Ryan had once visited. There's a dance studio here, and Ryan contacted a young dancer in the industry named Jackie Lee Kate, proficient in multiple dance styles including modern, jazz, and street dance. She was recently invited to choreograph Beyoncé's single Ladies, a truly impressive achievement. Time is tight. Scott received an invitation to the American Music Awards, where both Ryan and Taylor were nominated and given the opportunity to perform live. Ryan decided to officially perform the single Where Are You Now on the AMA stage. Preparations for the single are almost complete, but he still needs to go to Los Angeles in the meantime. On the plane to Los Angeles, Therese asked Ryan, who was looking at a Playboy magazine, "Are the graffiti all ready?" Ryan nodded, closed the Playboy, and picked up another Attic magazine to browse through. "Then we'll start shooting the new music video as soon as we get back from Los Angeles. But speaking of which, why did you ask me to come along this time?" Therese voiced her question. Terry and her team have already jumped ship to start a new production company. They've been very busy lately, but they've lost a lot of clients. However, with Ryan and Taylor as 2 major clients, and Ryan also planning to sign other artists, the production company is getting off to a good start, with Ryan as the behind-the-scenes investor. By the way, to help you gain experience in film and television, you don't want to shoot music videos for the rest of your life, do you? Ryan looked up and asked. Ideally, Ryan also hoped that Terry could direct an episode of The Vampire Diaries. This wasn't wishful thinking. In television series, the director's importance is relatively low, and directors often change within a season. This stumped Terry. Which director doesn't want to shoot big productions and make a name for themselves? It's all about making a living. Terry is already used to it and thinks it's fine this way. In the country music video field, she's currently considered a top-tier director. And Terry's entry into the film and television industry would also be of great benefit to Ryan. But are you really confident? Or has the other party already agreed? Teresa knew that Ryan was going to negotiate with the creator of The Vampire Diaries. The creator, as the name suggests, is the co-creator of the series, usually also serving as a writer or executive producer, or both. In American TV series, the most crucial position is the writer. As for the director, the requirements for the director are not high, they are less important than the lead actor. I'll know once I try. To be honest, Ryan wasn't very confident either. The journey was uneventful. Ryan met Kevin Williamson, the creator of The Vampire Diaries, in the Dimension Films office. Behind him hung a series of his works, including the first 2 films of the well-known horror film series Scream, for which he was a co-writer, and 5 or 6 other horror films, including I Know What You Did Last Summer, 1997. In terms of television series, Warner Media produced Days of Glory and Mystery of Palms for its successor, The CW, but these didn't make much of a splash. Earlier this year, he began preparing for a television adaptation of the novel, The Vampire Diaries. He's also a longtime employee of Dimensional Films, having collaborated with them for many years. It's worth noting that Dimensional Films is currently a subsidiary of the Weinstein Company, which Weinstein acquired over a decade ago, specializing in the distribution and production of horror films. After being acquired by Disney, Dimensional Films merged into Disney, but Weinstein later bought it back. Kevin Williamson's directorial debut was budgeted by Weinstein, making them essentially boss and subordinate. When Ryan wanted to invest in the series, Kevin Williamson didn't refuse and even offered to cast Daddario in a supporting role. Ever since Daddario contacted him last time, he had been certain of the relationship between Ryan and Daddario, believing that Ryan had invested in the series for Daddario's sake. Not a supporting role, but the lead. Ryan shook his head. Ryan, to be honest, she's simply not capable of playing the lead role. She doesn't fit the character's style in the script. Kevin Williamson shook his head. If you really want her to play an important role, perhaps you should consider other projects, Kevin Williamson continued. What if it's a supporting role with more screen time? Ryan backed down. He then shook his head. Those casting choices have already been finalized. Judging from his tone, the role Daddario was given was probably the kind that appears for only 1 episode before dying. Then Kevin discussed the investment returns. offering incredibly harsh conditions. Not only was there a risk of losing everything, but the profits weren't shared, there was a maximum cap, and the money wouldn't be received for several years. He was practically treating Ryan like a fool with too much money and no sense of right and wrong. You know, our show is getting a lot of attention, we have no shortage of investors, and frankly, the investment amount you mentioned isn't very attractive. Kevin Williamson laughed. Excuse me, Ryan said, standing up abruptly. Won't you stay a little longer? This lady hasn't spoken yet. She must be Terry Van Joyce, right? I've seen some of her music videos at award ceremonies, he proactively asked Terry. Terry knew the conversation had fallen through, but she only smiled politely and stood up with Ryan. Kevin Williamson then walked around the table to Terry's side. A beautiful lady like you, if you'd like to direct a show, you can contact me anytime. Here's my business card. He completely ignored Ryan and offered Terry his card. As they parted, he even extended his hand to shake Terry's, which she couldn't refuse. Unexpectedly, he seemed to be taking advantage, not only rubbing the back of Terry's hand but also trying to lift it up and kiss it. Terry immediately recoiled, wary. Kevin Williamson reached for Ryan's hand, his face flushing red in an instant, followed by a gasp. God's sick. No, let go. His back arched like a shrimp, his whole body contorted in a grotesque way, his hand gripped tightly by Ryan, feeling as if it were being put into a meat grinder. Just then, a plump woman walked in and immediately stopped Ryan's actions. She was another creator of the show and had stumbled upon the scene after arriving late. Guards! Guards! I'm calling the police. You brat, you're not getting away, Kevin Williamson shouted as soon as he broke free. Chapter 124 Trained to be Zen. He just touched me inappropriately. Ryan just stopped him, Therese answered in a panic as she faced the officer's questioning. I didn't. Kevin Williamson clutched his right hand with his left, several fingers of his right hand grotesquely curled up like chicken claws, his face contorted with pain. I saw it with my own eyes. I've already contacted a lawyer. This isn't going to end like this, Ryan said indignantly. Is that so? The patrol officer turned to look at Kevin Williamson. Kevin Williamson stammered. Strictly speaking, he had indeed touched Therese's hand a couple of times, but, was it really necessary to do this to me? He looked at his dislocated fingers and burst into tears. Seeing this, the fat woman joined the discussion, implying that everyone should compromise and let the matter drop. This was exactly what Ryan wanted, and the two sides parted ways. Ryan, Therese, and the fat woman went outside the office. After the patrol officer left, the fat woman turned to Ryan and questioned him. What exactly happened? Ryan recounted the events to the other woman in detail. I didn't start it, he asked for it. Why say such things if you don't want your investment? The plump woman shook her head, somewhat disgusted. She introduced herself as Julie Praxt, and judging by her size, she was a whole class larger than Taylor Mother. She started as an assistant director and worked her way up to co-producer. The Vampire Diaries was a project she co-created with Kevin Williamson. Kevin Williamson was in charge of the screenplay, and she was in charge of the production. Well, that's it, we've hit a brick wall, Julie muttered. So, he's a repeat offender. Ryan realized something. Julie shrugged, not saying anything, but it was a tacit admission. Who knows what might happen if Daddario really joined the Vampire Diaries crew. Seeing that they couldn't work together, Julie and Ryan didn't say much, but they started talking to Terry. She was very willing to work with Terry, probably because Terry was about her age. However, Terry didn't agree. They're right about one thing, there are plenty of new shows. Why not switch projects? Terry forked a piece of grilled rib and put it in her mouth. Every year, the major television stations launch at least 10 new programs. Forget it, this industry is more complicated than I imagined. Ryan abandoned his idea of investing in dramas. This industry is very complex, investing in it is likely to result in losses, and the risk is not proportional to the return. Terry hesitated for a moment but still didn't speak. She actually really wanted to get involved in film and television, but seeing that Ryan no longer had any intention of investing, she stopped herself. She knew it was Ryan's money, and how it was used was up to him. The two of them had just come out of the Dimensional Pictures office and turned into a small restaurant next door. Ryan wasn't disguised, but the waiters there didn't seem overly surprised to see him. So, you often see other celebrities here? Ryan asked, taking his drink. The blonde waiter, wearing a bright yellow uniform, nodded. Actually, I haven't been here long, she began slowly, then, without waiting for Ryan to listen, began to recount her experiences. Her father had jumped from a building during the financial crisis, leaving behind a mountain of debt. Even taking all their possessions to pay off the debts wasn't enough. As a wealthy heiress, she had no choice but to put on an apron and become a waitress. "You're chatting with the customers again," another Mexican waitress, seeing this, quickly came over to stop her. She was much more efficient at work, but her attire was unkempt and lacked refinement. "Big star, how's the food?" she asked with a snobbish smile. Ryan noticed the black cashier and the Asian boss behind her, then looked at her again. A strong sense of déjà vu washed over him again. "What's your name?" Ryan asked softly. "Julia." "What's wrong?" The waitress saw Ryan's eyes suddenly roll upwards, his eyelids twitching rapidly, like the eye movements a person makes while dreaming. Terry noticed Ryan's unusual behavior and immediately got up to check on him. She found Ryan motionless, seemingly possessed, with his eyes rolled back, looking rather terrifying. Inside the hospital room, Ryan suddenly awoke, immediately feeling a splitting headache. He looked around blankly. Terry was on his left, and Taylor on his right. Terry's head was drooping, presumably asleep. Taylor was the first to notice Ryan's awakening and immediately went to check on him. "You're finally awake. You scared me to death." Taylor finally breathed a sigh of relief, looking somewhat haggard. Ryan glanced at the clock on the wall. It was already past midnight. He learned that Taylor had cancelled her fan meeting upon hearing he had collapsed and rushed over immediately. Terry was also awakened by the noise and exclaimed, "You were unconscious, did you even know that?" She then described Ryan's terrifying state in the restaurant. After collapsing, Ryan was immediately taken to a hospital in Los Angeles. "Maybe I'm just too tired, anyway, I'm fine." Ryan shook his head, telling the two not to worry. He knew he had temporarily lost consciousness because he had received too much information through déjà vu in a short time. He had a long dream, in which there were two waitresses in yellow uniforms, one named Caroline and the other Max. Caroline was originally a girl from a wealthy family, but her family had fallen on hard times and she had to work in a restaurant. Max, on the other hand, came from a poor family and had previously worked as a nanny. The two shared an apartment and worked together towards their goal of opening a cake shop. The scenes in these dream fragments were very simple, only 4 in total, and there were occasional canned laughs in the dream. Clearly, it was a sitcom. "Teresa, we don't necessarily have to invest in a show, we can produce it ourselves," Ryan said abruptly. "The cost of a sitcom is relatively small compared to other shows." Teresa and Taylor exchanged a glance. "Have you had your brain checked?" Taylor whispered. "Yes, everything is normal," Teresa nodded. Ryan threw back the covers, preparing to get out of bed. "Teresa, contact that Julie tomorrow, get her to be the producer, you direct, and I'll find me a few screenwriters, I need to work with them on the script, for easier inspection." Ryan wasn't wearing anything underneath, and her hospital gown, like a skirt, was partially open. Teresa caught a glimpse of something and shrank back in fright. "Taylor, is the AMA performance ready?" Ryan asked. Taylor nodded hesitantly. "Countdown, car start." "Ryan, look up at camera number 3, the director's instructions came through the earpiece. In Los Angeles, outside the Nokia Theater, countless female fans were surrounded by fences, the road completely cleared. A convertible American classic car slowly drove by, and the fans, seeing Ryan in the passenger seat, immediately let out ear-piercing screams. The combined high-frequency sounds made Ryan wonder if the windshield in front of him would crack. "Damn it, some audience members are jumping over the fence. Accelerate the car," the voice in the earpiece became urgent. Ryan glanced in the rearview mirror and, sure enough, saw a group of fans jumping over the railing and running frantically after the vehicle not far behind. Their expressions were ferocious as they ran, their arms flailing wildly. With a little makeup, they could easily be cameos in a zombie movie. When Ryan came to his senses, he saw another large group of fans breaking through security personnel and flanking the vehicle from both sides. "Ryan, jump out!" Seeing their frenzy, Ryan was genuinely afraid he'd be eaten up. Without thinking, he braced himself against the car door, lifted his legs, and jumped over the convertible door. Chapter 125 AMA. Ryan's experience as a tight end in rugby came in handy. Facing a swarm of fans, he fought his way through the crowd and into a narrow passage enclosed by railings, the only way to the stage. The moment Ryan entered, Staff on both sides slammed the doors shut. "Run," a staff member shouted at Ryan, blocking the iron gate like a character in a zombie movie, using their body to block zombies to cover the protagonist's escape. With a series of staff members' life-risking cover, Ryan finally made it to the stage, not even out of breath. Recent high-intensity training and a controlled diet had brought him back to peak physique, although the oversized linen top didn't accentuate his muscles. Furthermore, the inner lining was even longer, a technique called layering. The inner lining had to be much longer than the outer layer, completely covering his buttocks, even deliberately creating the visual effect of shorter legs. This is the essence of high street style, which, of course, only suits people with long legs. The first batch of sample garments for the Stray series has been produced, and Ryan has been wearing outfits from this series whenever he appears in front of the camera recently. As the music began, Ryan's first public performance after his image upgrade officially commenced. Accompanied by a relatively soothing opening rhythm, Ryan sang while making slight body movements, with the 5 female dancers behind him moving almost in sync with his actions. This was followed by simple footwork and slight side swaying movements. During the verse, Ryan bent downwards and quickly rebounded, completing a body wave motion, followed by a finger dance section, accompanied by a slight head movement. Ryan isn't particularly agile, and at this moment he even seemed a little nervous, with his arm extensions appearing somewhat unnatural. However, the audience couldn't notice these details. As Ryan's first singing and dancing performance, many female fans were already blushing with excitement. Then came the most challenging part of the dance, the drop section. To the rhythm, Ryan began high-frequency jumping steps, half-squatting, bending his legs, and bringing his feet together, taking a step to one side, then the other, swinging back and forth. Simultaneously, his hands made corresponding forward extension movements. After an 8-count sequence, he had to slide 2 steps to the side, a standard street dance move perfectly integrated into the choreography. Ryan had previously struggled with the drop part, finding it almost as difficult as a football match for him. This time, however, he was lucky and completed the entire performance without any mishaps. The second part of the song involved him walking onto the extended stage as rehearsed, performing a solo dance. Now closer to the audience, Ryan could even see several female audience members nearby looking more exhausted than he was, almost fainting from exhaustion. But the biggest surprise of the show was yet to come. At the end of the music, Ryan removed his baseball cap and threw it to the audience, revealing his light blonde hair. The audience's cheers rose another octave. "Ryan, I love you," Ryan heard the frenzied shouts during the curtain call. An ABC reporter immediately approached to interview Ryan. Simultaneously, fan forums erupted in a frenzy. 10,000, OMG, OMG, 167, dyed your hair? When did you dye it? 16, I declare the Jonathan brothers are completely finished. 4,444. Why is it so lively? What happened? 17, did you watch the AMD livestream? Lustful. 4,444, shit. He really changed his image. 5,854, I was sweating buckets watching it. 167, was that sweat or water? 5,854, sweat is water, and water is sweat. 3,471, facts. Ryan's performance was a special performance, held before the start of this year's awards ceremony. But it received just as much attention as the main audience, which was a special arrangement by the organizers to attract young female viewers. Your new look is impressive, the female host licked her lips, squinted at Ryan, and pretended to be lustful. This was the AMA, broadcast on public television. If it were the VMAs, the female host would have done more than just lick her lips. After the interview, Ryan didn't change his clothes and walked the red carpet in his high street style. Taylor was already waiting for him there. Today, she wore a silver, slightly sexy jumpsuit, something she rarely wore. Does Stray have women's clothing? Taylor grabbed Ryan's hand. She had already noticed the special naming details of Ryan's clothing line and was deeply moved, even considering promoting it herself. Ryan imagined Taylor wearing this style of clothing and decided against it. I think you look even more handsome than before, Taylor whispered in Ryan's ear, looking at his blonde, Saiyan-like appearance. In front of the cameras on the red carpet, Taylor leaned against Ryan, turned to face the camera, and then lifted her right leg back. Ryan noticed that the high heels she was wearing were the ones he had bought for her in Miami. Ryan also put his arm around her waist, posing for a couple's photo. "How's your big plan going?" Taylor asked again. The script has already covered several episodes. Tracy and Jolie have both read it and thought it was fantastic. The conflict between the two female leads is very dramatic, Ryan said. He didn't write the script himself, it was a specially assembled team of writers. Ryan dictated, one person wrote the main text, and the others discussed and polished it, adding extra jokes, a typical Hollywood script room model, which made the process relatively smooth. Both of them had been very busy lately. Taylor was busy meeting with fans, like a movie release roadshow, running from city to city, and signing autographs alone was physically demanding. Ryan had been working non-stop, so the two hadn't had much time to chat since they parted ways at the hospital. So, you mean, can we start preparing for actor recruitment, team building, and set construction? Taylor tentatively asked. Pretty much. How many nominations have you received? Ryan suddenly asked. 1. Oh, favorite country female singer. Why? Taylor followed Ryan's gaze and immediately realized why he asked that. At the front of the red carpet, Taylor's biggest competitor, Carrie Underwood, had already appeared. She looks like a clove of garlic today, Ryan muttered. Taylor chuckled, then noticed Kelly looking their way, and immediately looked away. I lost to her last year, and I don't want to lose again this year, Taylor whispered as she walked into the venue with Ryan. And you, Ryan? How many nominations did you get? Only one, Best Newcomer, Ryan smiled, noticing the Jonathan brothers already seated. The three brothers looked ashen-faced. The reason was simple, Ryan's change of style had solidified his status as a teen idol, and the Jonathan brothers, who had previously held that position, had undoubtedly suffered the biggest loss. There are only so many teenage female fans, and while there's no rule that a fan can only idolize one person, people's energy is limited. Ryan's sudden emergence has essentially ended that race. AMA is decided by voting, and you're in a strong position this year, Ryan whispered a reminder. A few hours later, the presenter announced Taylor's name. Taylor accepted the transparent, diamond-shaped trophy, speaking rapidly. She first thanked her fans, then mentioned that this was her first American Music Award, holding extraordinary significance for her. She also thanked her fans for their enthusiastic purchases, which propelled her album to #1 on the 200 album chart. Finally, she pointed to Ryan sitting in the audience. Thank you, Ryan. Without you, I might never have written those songs. Although I always forget to say I love you, I won't forget this time. I love you, Taylor smiled. Cheers erupted from the audience, and the camera switched to Ryan, who naturally stood up and applauded, not forgetting to express his love for Taylor. Next came the more important New Artist of the Year award for Ryan, an award Taylor hadn't even been nominated for last year. End of this chapter. Thank you so much for reading until the end. Don't forget to give it a like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription or donation encourages us to continue. Thank you all, see you in the next video.